Hi everyone, my name is Jessie February and I'm joined by the beautiful Fiona. How are you, Fiona?
Thank you so much, Jessie, for that lovely introduction. I am very well, thank you. I also gonna give the compliment right back. I noticed you had little haircut. And Jessie, I love it. And I'm looking forward to it's our first time doing joint commentary. We're looking at the first match of the last 16 of this year's Women's Speed Chess Championships. And we have a big matchup with Koneru Humpy taking on Bibisara Assaubayeva. So let's go now. Yeah, sorry. Let's look at the format for today. So it's, as I said, the first match of the last 16, and they will be playing 75 minutes of 5+1. So it's the same format that you might already know from the Speed Chess Championships. Then they will be taking a break, then 45 minutes of 3+1. And finally, probably the one I'm most looking forward to, 25 minutes of 1+1. If a game starts while there is still time of the clock, that game will finish. So that's one of the things to keep in mind. So we will see how much the players will use the clock element. And Jessie, let's
played in.
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry. I just wanted to ask if you played in any of the qualification events.
Unfortunately, I only got around to playing one because I was in Gibraltar actually doing commentary on the Women's Grand Prix. So I'm so happy to see so much going on now in terms of women's chess. And actually, well, I'm looking forward to talking to her after because she did so well in this Grand Prix series. But today we will see, and let's see what the players are playing for.
Yeah, let's take a look at the prize fund. So first place for the main event is $20,000. As you can see, the prize fund is $58,000. I mean, that's amazing.
That's a huge prize fund.
Yeah, could feed a whole small country.
Absolutely.
Second place, $12,000, and third place, $5,000 and going down. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, huge kudos to chess.com for putting on this event in collaboration with FIDE. And now let's quickly take a look at the bracket. So who's playing who? There were 8 invited players, and so you will see them by their seeding numbers. So they're seeded according to the May FIDE Blitz list. And then you will see the different qualifiers. I think those were drawn at random, the pairings. And so today, the match that we're going to be looking at is the second one from the top on the right side, Humpy Koneru from India against Bibisara Assaubayeva. Bibisara, unless I'm mistaken, I think the youngest participant in the field, only 17 years old, and she's got a tough task ahead of her today.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I love how you pronounce her surname so well.
I just go with it, hope for the best.
Assaubayeva. Yeah. I'm not known for my very good pronunciation. You gotta have confidence and you'll make it. That's awesome.
And let's have a quick look at the schedule for this main event. So lots of chess to look forward to this month.
Yeah, so we have the first round on, well, today, round 16. Oh, round 16. It says round 16. So this is the first day of round 16.
Exactly. And well, there will be a lot more. So 7 more matches after today to determine our quarterfinalists. So it will run daily from today up until June 20th. And then there will be a 3-day break before the first quarterfinal.
Awesome.
And with the finals coming up on the weekend of the 2nd and 3rd July. So July 3rd, mark your calendars now. That's when we will find out who is the 2021 Women's Speed Chess Champion.
Can't wait. And I love the photo of Humpy Koneru there with Bibisara. Bibisara looks much younger than 17 in that photograph.
Absolutely. What is your prediction, Jessie, for today's match?
I think it's going to be tough. Of course, Humpy Koneru is way more experienced in tournaments in general. So I'm not sure if Bibisara is going to feel that sort of pressure. But I know at a young age, you focus a lot on tactics and I mean, the young ones can be quite tricky. I speak from experience, really, in a lot of the national championships. If we're up against younger ones, you have to be careful. So I'm sure Hampi Koneru is going to try and use her experience to advantage and maybe keep things quite solid, and of course play for an advantage.
Yeah, but I
After
think
the
you make
opening.
a great point. I think Bibi Sara, one of the nice things is that she doesn't really have much to lose. Hampi Koneru, one of the strongest women players, not just of our time, but ever. She was only the second player after Judith Polgar to break 2600. She is currently the world number 3, so a very strong, very experienced player. But Bibi Sara, only 17 years young and nothing to lose. And I expect her to give Humpy a good fight today, but I think I have to say Humpy is my pick. I think she's a big favorite to go through here today.
Yes, and do you have a favorite for the tournament, the main event?
I probably shouldn't as the commentator, but I have to cheer for Valentina Gonina, my good friend. So I'm team Valentina.
That's cool. That's cool. I don't think I have a favorite yet. I really need to get to know the players a little bit better. So that's awesome.
You'll have to pick your horse, and I'm curious to find out who you will be rooting for. And so the match now just 4 minutes away from starting. So we will be right back with the action in just a second.
And we're back. We're about to take a look at the first time control, which is 5+1, and that'll be 75 minutes of 5+1. Are you excited?
I am excited. I mean, I think this one, I'm very curious to see how Bibi Sara is going to do, because I think in general, the shorter the time controls get, the higher the chances of the underdog get. Because of course, as you deduce time from the clock, the element of randomness, I think, becomes, maybe randomness is the wrong word, but there's more of an element of, there's less time to calculate. There can be a bit more luck involved. I think we all know this. We all have played Bullet. Bullet is a lot more random than 5+1.
That's
So I
true.
think Koneru will be looking to make a mark here, and they are off.
They've started. What is your favorite time control, by the way, Fiona?
To play myself.
Yes.
Probably, I would say 3+0, sometimes Bullet, but I try not to play too much. Try not to play too much, but I have to say I'm not too familiar with the players. I don't know how much they play online. If anyone in the chat would like to give us some information. So the first thing I noticed that Bibi Sara is actually the favorite in terms of chess.com blitz rating. So she has a blitz rating of 2,716, which probably also answers my question as to how much she plays. Probably a fair bit more than I thought.
Yeah, and I saw Bibi Sara play in quite a few of the qualifier events. I'm not sure which one she actually won. Was it the second one that she won? Qualifying for the main event, which was quite nice to see. But yeah,
Yeah,
as you can see, with the 2,700, I mean, that's absolute goals.
yeah, I mean, and also the qualifiers, every single one of them was had such a strong field that to qualify from any of them is really impressive. Meanwhile, in the game, we see that Humpy has opened with 1d4, which I think is her default. I have to say, I'm not too familiar with the players' repertoires. And we see Bibi Sara respond with the Benoni defense. So already quite a double-edged choice. She's saying, you know, I don't want to just play, you know, solid, let's say, Queen's Gambit type of positions. She wants to have a fight, get a fighting position, and I think that's great news for us as well, for all the viewers.
Yes, it's quite exciting. Would you say the Baroni is a very tactical opening?
I'm not too familiar. I've never actually played the Benoni as black, never played d4 as
Yeah,
white, but I would
neither have
say
I. Yeah.
so we're both on our own here. But what I would say, it's a very fighting opening. My feeling from what I've heard, whenever I hear Benoni, I think, okay, black probably wants to try and win this game. Like, what black is not happy to just play a solid position. But what I'm curious about is Humpy has gone into the tank. She's already spent 2 minutes of her time, and I'm not quite sure what exactly, if something surprised her in the opening. I really hope that both players' internet connections are stable. I know that sometimes players, especially if I think from India, have been struggling, you know, with things like power cuts or just slow internet connection. I think it's something you can also relate to from what I know.
Unfortunately. Yes, we've seen that, yeah, a lot of the time from the Indian contingent. And I think that happened in some of the qualify events as well, where you make a move and you don't see it process in time, and that way you lose on time, unfortunately.
Of course, it happened most famously, I think, in the online Olympiad, which was such a big, the final between India and Russia was a huge problem. Let's not go there. Let's hope everything is fine. But we see Humpy on the camera. Everything looks stable. She looks very focused. And Bibi Sara also there, looking very concentrated. So far, don't think we can read much from the body language. Both players really focus. And Bibi Sara offering a trade of queens with Queen B6. And I guess White has some questions to answer here. What do we want to do? Do we want to keep the queen, move it away, or do we want to swap on B6?
My assumption here is, especially with White having space, having gained the space out of the opening, I would assume Black would want to at least attack the base of the pawn chain. So go for something like knight development, rook b8, a6, b5. So after queen b3, which was, I'm not sure how much time Humpy actually spent on this move. Let's see, it was a minute. No, not a minute.
Long time for a 5+1 game, spending 1 minute. I mean, 20% of your allocated starting time, that's a lot of time. And we see, I mean, she's down to under 2 minutes. Sometimes I think it's normal as well, though, for a first game of a match. I think very often it can take some time for players, you know, to get into the groove of things and just to find their marks. And so I wouldn't be surprised at all that if Humpy at some point picked up speed throughout the match, and not just her, but both players. In this position, maybe we can just show, it looks at first that the pawn on b2 might be hanging, but I don't, well, first of all, it's white, it's white to move. I meant on the previous move, instead of knight b7, it looked like the pawn on b2 was hanging, but maybe we can just show that that pawn could not be taken because rook b1 would be pinning the bishop, and white would be completely winning.
Yes, you can see the evaluation bar just shoot up as well. That's really well spotted, yes. So it's not a free pawn on b2 because of the bishop already attacking b2. And of course, rook b1 just wins the bishop. So that is really, really nice to note. And I see that there is an ongoing, sorry, Fiona, I see there's an ongoing poll as well. So if you want to vote for your fan favorite today.
A prediction, yeah? Use those
yes,
Janet
not
points.
a poll, a prediction. Oh my goodness. I'm a boomer.
I actually, you know what, can I use some? Am I allowed? How do I do it? Jessie, I'm the boomer. You tell me, how do I predict?
I think you'll click on the panel at the top and you'll just click on predict with a custom amount instead of just clicking the 10 that you see on screen. You can see predict with
a lot. Yeah, who wins?
I'm also going to be betting. I'm putting 5,000 on one of the players. I won't say who.
How do I do this? With 0. I don't want to bet with 0. Okay, let's go back.
You want to bet with 0.
I don't know how to put the... Oh my goodness, I'm actually so bad at this. I was joking about the boomer thing. I don't know if I even predicted. Anyway, let's move on.
It's okay.
I think I failed.
We respect all the boomers in chat today.
I think I'll focus on what I know, which is, you know, just commentary. I leave the predictions to the chat.
Yeah, I am very curious though. I saw a lot of photos from Gibraltar, and honestly, I was just living vicariously through the players and you. I saw a lot of your stories on Instagram. I loved it. How was your experience in Gibraltar? Was it your first time there?
It was my 4th time. So I'd been 3 times before, but it's always a really special place to go back to, especially because it's also dubbed the home of women's chess. And the organizers there have done so much to support women in chess, which is, of course, you know, fantastic. And I think the players, what was the nicest for me was just to see how happy they were to be back at the board, because I think some open tournaments, elite tournaments for men, had started to take place again for a few months now. But for women, I mean, so many of them, Shansaya Abdulmalik, who won the tournament, she had since March last year only played 1 tournament, which is crazy, because she now made the rating for GM, but you know, she could have gotten her title so much sooner if the pandemic hadn't cropped up. So it was really, really good to just see, you know, top level women chess being back over the board. And it's a double, it's so nice to have the Grand Prix immediately followed by this Women's Speed Chess Championships. And as I said, looking forward to talking to Koneru, because she really wanted to play, but because of the COVID situation in India, I couldn't make it. She still qualified, although she only played 2 Grand Prix. Everyone could have 3. So let's see if she can continue, you know, the run. She's qualified for the Women's Candidates Tournament. And can she make it past Bibi Sara, who's actually, I really like Bibi Sara's position. Yeah, I always think knights are so tricky. We see the black rooks are dominating the A file. The dark squared bishops, I was just gonna say, are probably gonna come up. There they go. And can we just take the pawn on B? No, the knight is hanging, so we need to do something. But knight E5 looks like the natural move, just bringing the knight to the center and at the same time hitting the bishop. And I really like, oh my goodness, Jessie, while we were chatting, Humpy is down to 7 seconds only. So this could be a big problem. And if Bibi Sara can win the first game as black, she will be, what do you call it? Sending a signal. Is that what you say?
Yeah, all the smoke signals, I think. Yeah.
um, and
But
yeah,
good thing you mentioned, sorry, good thing you mentioned the lockdown. I mean, a lot of players would see that as an opportunity to improve with all their free time or stuck at home and sort of thing. But to be honest, I found myself rather demotivated instead
mm,
of, motivated to work on my chess. What about
I,
you?
I think it's tough when there's no tournaments on the horizon, when you have nothing concrete to work towards. It
Yeah.
takes so much more discipline to continue working. I personally, I feel that I only ever work on my chess when I'm at an event or just before an event. So yeah, um, I mean, I talked about Shansaya already. She actually, during the lockdown, became the deputy mayor of not just any small city in Kazakhstan, but of Almaty. So people have been, staying busy with different things. But I'm really looking forward to things opening up again and everyone being able to get back to the chessboard. In the game, meanwhile, actually, I like what Koneru has done. She says, I'm gonna try and look to get active counterplay. Her position is a bit more passive, but so okay, so things are happening. The rooks have
Yeah.
doubled on the end. Oh, she loses
Oh,
on
she timed
time.
out. Yeah,
So
it looks like the move hadn't processed quick enough because King H2 was quite a quick move to see, but it looked like it took a whole second for it to realize that it was uh, the move that was made.
there could even
So
be
yeah,
some lag issues. We don't know about
lag.
that, but okay,
Yeah.
this is something that Koneru definitely will need to keep an eye on, because I mean, this is the slowest portion time control of the three of them, 5+1.
Mhm.
And Bibi Sarah, maybe it's a good thing I didn't manage to get my prediction in, because Bibi Sarah, I have to admit, she's a player I'm not too familiar with, because she's just
Mm.
simply so young. She's only 17.
Yeah.
She's already a full-blown IM. She's a woman GM as well. She was an under 12, I think, world champion. So already quite a lot of achievements at such a young age. And she's looking fearless to me. She's looking very fearless.
Yes, it must be that camera angle that makes it look so intimidating.
Yeah. I don't know, do you know if the players they can see each other in the Zoom call, right?
I have no idea.
I
That's a
guess
very
so.
good question.
I guess they
I'm
can.
not
I guess
sure.
they
Mm.
don't look at it. But would you be
Yes, I'm
tempted?
sure.
Let's say if you were in the driver's seat, you felt the game is going well. Oh, let me take a quick peek at my opponent, see if she's
Oh my
looking.
goodness. Because I played in the online Olympiad, and that way we
Yeah.
were able to see our opponents' faces because we were actually on the same call as one of our opponents. Because I know they had a lot of groups. So it was very tough for me to look into my opponent's eyes, even though it was a rapid game. I just tried not to look. So I actually minimized the whole window because I was like, this is too intimidating. I can't.
Yeah, it can work both ways. I think sometimes,
Yeah.
I think it just depends also on the kind of personality. I think even over the board, there are some players who are starers, who will stare you down, and others who will never really look at you at all. Meanwhile, okay, this came here from we came here from an Italian game, but the dynamics of the position changed very quickly, because it's quite rare for white to play with f4. In the Italian, this is not so actually, the structure has changed completely from an Italian game. If we came in here, I would never guess in a million years. This was an Italian game. And once again, I mean, I'm really, really happy to see the start of the match, because I wasn't sure, I thought Humpy would try and keep things more under control. She's such a strong player, such a solid player. So I'm sure her strategy going into the match was more to sort of, outplay her younger opponent, use her experience. I don't know their styles enough, but in general, the stronger players wants to avoid a lot of tactical mess, a lot of craziness. In general, the stronger you are, the simpler you want to keep things, because
Yes.
you want to outplay your opponents rather than take
Yeah.
a gamble on complications. But Bibi Sarah, she's done a great job every position we have gotten, and this is going to be very double-edged. One thing I'm wondering is that Black King, where do you think that Black King is going to go? Do you think Black is going to castle queenside? Do you think the king is going to stay in the middle?
I think it might in fact stay in the middle. This is, I think, way beyond me. But a piece of advice I received from one of the coaches, I was busy playing a tournament, and they said, if you're playing against someone who is noticeably weaker than you, or maybe has a fraction of your rating, pretty much, the best thing to do is avoid exchanges, but try to make things complicated. Give your opponent a position that they would have to make a very important decision. So
Yeah.
where there are a lot of
And also more
options and
chances
often,
for them to go wrong as well.
yes, exactly. Yes. Well
I
put.
think
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. And here that's not at all what's going on. I'm curious, is Humpy going to use that G file? Could we see a Harry the H pawn push? Is that H pawn going to run up the board? I spent way too much time with Simon Williams in my life, so
I
unfortunately.
love that. You guys make a great duo. I think one of the first commentary kind of tournaments that I watched where there was commentary, live commentary, was the Isle of Man with you
Yeah,
and Simon. So that's where I fell in love with the whole idea of commentary, really.
that's really
Yeah.
nice to hear. I mean, Simon, big shout out to the Ginger Gem. Wow. Okay, sorry. This is a move
Short
that
castle.
I did
Not in
not
a
have
million
on my
years.
radar at all.
Yeah.
I was so sure we're gonna use that H file, G file, but
Mm.
that also tells you how much how much I understand. But I'm not sure
Yeah.
if I like this move, short castles, because suddenly we see that the white pieces. I love this rook swing, rook f3, trying to bring the rook over to either g3 or h3. The knight is starting to reroute from c4. I think Bibi Sarah is understanding that knight is going to be needed. I think she's going to launch just an attack against that black king, who's for the moment looking quite lonely on h8.
Yeah, I suppose the idea was to try, instead of putting the king on d7, because
Mhm.
that maybe would have been for the knight after b4, and long castling might have been a bit of a risk as well. You could bring the rook to g8 and double up the rooks this way, because I suppose connecting the rooks at this stage is really important if you want to launch an attack. And if black does get that right in the flank, white might have to focus on the center instead. So I do agree with you. It's a little bit scary now. I wonder how white is going to go about this.
Yeah, I think white has a fairly straightforward plan. My guess is she will bring the rook to h3 or
Mm.
g3, bring the queen. Okay, so for now she started with
Ooh,
queen d2, attacking the
yeah.
pawn on d6. So black is going to have to do something about that. Probably Humpy has to move the knight. There's not too many squares. There's only b8 or b6. So b6, of course, makes a lot more sense. And I think
Mhm.
what black should do, if you get attack on one of the two flanks, on the king side or on the queen side, you want to strike back in the center. So I think if Humpy gets a chance, I think she would love to play a d5 break. But for now, d5 squared is controlled 4 times by white and only 3 times by black. So for now, it's not an option. But the knight leaves the square from e3, and Bibi Sarah says, I just want to continue with an attack on the king side. Maybe the queen, I'm sure that queen is looking to come into h6, get as close as
Yeah.
possible to the black king. And yeah, we see the bar is dropped a little bit. It likes black better, but I think especially in the blitz game,
Mm.
I don't know how much we can trust the bar. I feel like it's always in blitz, especially, it's always easier to play from the attacking side. Although maybe rook g5, can we stop that queen from coming in
I
to
was looking
h6?
at this. Is h4 possible? It probably stops the idea of getting the rook on the
Yeah,
h
because
file. Yeah, maybe provoking this h4 is a good idea. I like it. Yeah.
h4 we can play rook h5, and already white has to defend that pawn. I think
Mhm.
the only move to defend it is playing rook h3, but then we can bring the other
Ooh.
rook. So I think rook g5 was a very interesting option, but queen f8, so also stopping the idea of queen h6. And now white will have to think, how do we continue increasing the
Mhm.
pressure? This time also the clock is a lot closer, but still Bibi Sarah with more time on the
Mhm.
clock.
You know, they say a knight on g8, they'll never be mate. maybe the queen on f8. They'll never be mates. You never know.
Are you
Yeah.
sure it's the knight on g8?
Is
Yeah,
it knight g8? They'll never be mates.
maybe. I thought the knight on f8. I always can't where we
Ah,
cover h7.
maybe
Maybe the
chat can
chat
correct.
can help us
Yeah.
out. Because d8 you're not covering. You're
Is it
not
knight
covering.
f8?
I guess so,
Knight
yeah.
on the 8. There
A
we go.
knight on d8. Just go with the 8, then you don't.
The 8. As long as it rhymes.
F8,
Oh,
because
is it f8?
yeah,
Okay.
because the important square, maybe we can highlight
Mm.
it on the board, is h7, where very
Mhm.
often white is looking to mate. So the knight on f8, very useful defending piece. It
You
covers
see,
not
I was
only
just
h7, yeah, just
testing you,
testing me.
See, that's
Okay,
d5. Yeah.
things are really heating up here. So we saw there was an exchange of rooks. The f6 pawn. The f6 pawn dropped, so now we're back to material equality, and black is striking now in the center. Humpy is down to 14 seconds, so that's one thing really to look out for. I also think sometimes just this 1 second increment. I think both you and I have played with a 1 second increment before. It's not much. It's not much. I always
1
feel
second
when I
isn't.
drop down to 5 seconds, I
Yeah.
barely feel the 1 second increment.
It's enough to make a move, I think.
Yeah, try and get
Yeah.
a few free moves in, try and push your
Yeah.
clock time up. But I really feel there is such a huge difference between 1 second and 2 seconds. I feel 2 second increment, I can quite easily get the clock up, but here,
Mm-hmm.
1 second, I think what the 1 second increment is mostly just so that we don't see flagging in the end. If we have
Yes.
just a queen against a bare king, we will manage to checkmate. So there will be no dirty flagging, but I think we're still gonna see a lot of just flagging, plain flagging.
No, it's true. It's true. Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult. At least with 2 seconds, it's 1 second to move and 1 second to think. Right now, maybe enough to pre-move. Yes.
Now it's just enough to play, not to think. So
Yeah.
you just, I think, but we're joking, of course. But Blitz, I think in general, of course, the players have to rely quite a lot on instinct. 5+1, there is some space. By the way, 1 second, 1 second for Koneru.
Oh
The
no,
eval bar is all over the place. I'm not sure what is
my
going on.
heart. I think
It's
she's pre-moving a lot. Yeah.
and it's very scary, especially when
Oh,
there's so many tricky pieces on the board. The knight is not a piece you want close to your king when you're low on time. But what? There was some tactic here. I don't know what it
was
was.
there?
I think so. I saw the bar jump all over the place. But
Oh, again.
oh, and it is checkmate.
Wow, that is
Wow.
a very interesting check. I love that back rank, and it's so
What a
unsuspecting as
finish.
well. Wow.
Incredible. And Humpy,
Yeah.
after a tough game, I think she was on the back foot a lot, but she strikes back and she equalizes this match 1-1. So Jesse, I think we're in for an absolute treat here today.
Yes,
I
it
think the
definitely is
players,
nail biting. Chat
it
is
is
right.
very nail biting. I think
Yeah.
we better get our nerves ready. I think we'll see a lot of time scramble, but
Yes.
it was very
Get your
impressive.
popcorn ready, guys.
Your
Get your
popcorn,
popcorn
absolutely.
ready. Do we
And you
have
know,
popcorn emotes?
we haven't talked much to the chat yet because I'm so overwhelmed with all the games, the this, the that, the call. But hello, chat. Good to see you all. And it's good to see so many of you tune in here for this first round of 16 Humpy Koneru against Bibisara Assaubayeva. If you're just tuning in, you haven't missed much. This is game 3 of the first time control. And yeah, I'm really... I think this match is going to be a lot closer than I expected.
Chat is mentioning something called the French Open. Is that tennis?
It is, but Jesse, I forgot to brief you before we started that you cannot talk to me about the French Open, because yesterday was the match Rafael Nadal against Djokovic, and
yes.
I am a huge Nadal fan.
Yes.
And let's just say it did not go the way I hoped.
Voted on your story, so I chose the right one.
Good.
I don't watch tennis, but I do know the big names at least. I don't think I've even played tennis in my life before. You're a tennis player?
We'll have to get to. I used to play a little bit. Nowadays,
Okay.
I sometimes for fun try and hit the ball. But no, yesterday was a legendary match. Let's see, maybe, what do we think in the chat? Is Humpy against Bibisara going to be even more legendary than Nadal against Djokovic? For now, for the start, I mean, it's keeping up with the tennis yesterday. Both games we saw very close, very fighting. And once again, I mean, we're tuning in here. It's move 12. We had a Grunfeld. So we also see the players mixing it up a little bit in terms of the opening. And I think that's always one of the interesting questions when we have these long matches is some players, you know, they stick to their openings, others will mix it up. So what do you think, Jessie? Are we going to see a lot of different openings or a lot of the same?
I can pretty much just repeat like things I've heard at different tournaments as well, because I tend to absorb the random facts that I hear rather than the important ones. And another thing I heard was when you're playing against someone you know you're more experienced, then it's always a good idea to take them out of their preparation, because usually if someone is inexperienced, they're going to rely a lot on theory and just things they've kind of been able to memorize. And instead, if you shake things up, you then fall into a situation where you just have to play chess, the principles you've learned, the experience you have, and not rely so much on theory. So when I was preparing against one of my younger opponents, she played d4, and obviously she had downloaded every single game I've ever played. And the one move I haven't played against d4 is just d6. So I sat back, played d6, and she spent like 30 minutes after that. So it ended up being very good. Yeah.
I also think one thing is that players might have different repertoires, especially the stronger the players are. They might have different repertoires for online blitz or classical chess, because those are two very different animals. And actually, Jessie, let me just ask the chat for help, because I was sure that Humpy was her first name. I think it is her
was a
first
message.
name.
There was a message at the top. Apparently, chat quite enjoyed that one by one of the mods. If you scroll up a little bit.
Which mod? I'm
scrolling. Sorry.
I can't even see it.
Yeah, it's just a little bit above.
At the thanks message about Humpy. No.
Yes, she was originally named Hampy, but I don't know how true that was.
I think it's true.
Humpy Koneru.
I think it's true. I think Humpy is her first. Yeah, so that's good. I'm glad I didn't call her by her last name this whole time. No, so Humpy, I think very often with the Indian names, it's tricky for a lot of us to know which one is from, which is the first or the last name. But yeah, Humpy is her first name. So as Frank, who just confirmed, he took it from Wikipedia. So she was originally named Humpy, which is derived from the word champion. So her name was chosen. It was a prophecy. She was meant to be a big chess champion, and they just changed the spelling later on from Humpy to Humpy.
Nice.
Yeah. So Humpy and Bibisara. And what is going on, Jessie, in the game?
I would prefer, just by looking at the position, first glance, I would prefer white pieces. What about you?
Yeah, me too. It just feels like we have a little bit more space. Both bishops are fianchettoed, one on g2, one on g7. The one on g2 was just opened up with that last move e5, while at the same time closing down the bishop from g7. So I agree with you that I would take white, but we see from the bar that the position is roughly in the balance. I'm also not sure about those two knights, the two black knights on a4 and b4.
You don't sure whether to be intimidated or to just dismiss it. I'm not
sure. One of them has retreated, which is good.
Yes. I'm assuming that after taking the knight on c3, b takes c3, and rook takes c3 is not possible because the knight on b4 is hanging.
Yeah,
So that is quite cool.
that's a nice little tactic. Absolutely. And one thing again, though, Humpy is down on the clock quite a lot. She's under a minute already, with Bibisara still at 3 minutes. So I think what I said earlier is still true, that it can take a while to get into a match. But while 75 minutes of 5+1, the matches actually are quite long. I mean, 75 minutes of 5+1, then 45 minutes of 3+1, then 25 minutes. So there's a lot of scope for comebacks. And I mean, I've been watching, you know, the Speed Chess Championships for many years, and some of the comebacks we have seen have just been incredible. But still, I'm curious to see, is Humpy going to be able to pick up the pace? Because I think if you're always down 2 minutes on the clock, it's just you're putting yourself under a lot of pressure. And of course, it's easier said than done. It's easier for us here as the commentators to say, you know, maybe play a little faster. When we're playing ourselves, it's not the same story.
Yeah, you want to try to be as accurate as possible, and it's not so possible with the time control. So it's important to find a balance.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, here, so the Black Knights have replaced themselves from being side by side on A4 and B4. Now they are on C5 and C6, where I have to say I like them a lot better than they were before, because now the Knights are controlling a lot more central squares. But F5, okay, that's a move that I did not have on my radar. I have to say, it looks a bit risky to suddenly open up everything. For example, we see the diagonal as well against the king, that A2 to G8 diagonal, and
You see an en passant. Yeah.
There was a tactic here.
Less
There
than
was
20
a,
seconds. There
there
was a
was a
tactic.
tactic. Yeah, I
Did
think
we miss something?
Bishop
Yeah.
D6. Bishop D6 was hitting both the rook on F8 and the knight on C5. I think picking up an exchange, but that was missed. Humpy played rook E1. So now I think Black should do something which will stop Bishop D6 on the next move. So knight E5 does just that. So the diagonal is cut and the pieces come off.
Well, the two bishops are looking really strong. Bishop C6 seems very normal here. Queen D1. Probably trying to activate the other rook because the other one was stuck on A1 there.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we'll see.
But this position has changed a lot. We see also the bar is suddenly taking a liking to Black. And I think it's no surprise, because suddenly I think it is the white king that is a little bit weaker. Black has this open D file that she's in control of right now. Also the semi-open F file. We see the knight looking to jump into F4. Knights love jumping to these outposts. We see it to D4. It's going to go to F3. I think this is very close to being game over. White cannot cover the fork on F3. I suspect knight F3 is coming. And 4 seconds for Humpy. There is knight F3. The rook is going to drop on E1 with check as well. And now it should just be a matter of technique at this point. Also plenty of time still for Bibisara.
We're seeing the players are having a lot of luck with the black pieces today.
Is that the third? That's the third black queen, yeah?
It's the third black one.
Nice.
If Bibisara takes this one.
So I'm curious, what is the easiest way? One thing I would love, I was just going to say rook C2, maybe looking to bring the other rook down to D2. In general, you love doubling your rooks on the 2nd or 7th rank. Maybe you should just be looking to put pressure against that point on F2, which could become quite weak. Can we play G5 here? Yeah, and just force the bishops off. In general, remember, if you're up material, you're always happy to trade down, just simplify as much as you can towards a winning ending. Of course, white still has a knight. We know knights are tricky beasts. I think Bibisara, one thing, she just has to make sure that she keeps an eye on the clock, that she doesn't drop down too close to no time. Humpy making a move with 1 second. We're getting into scary territory, but the king is making a run for it. The king is
This king
looking.
is an active piece. Yeah.
I was
I'm curious to know. Maybe it's
yeah.
perpetual here, or if
Oh, but
it's possible. Oh, Humpy
rook
timed
f8
out.
was very strong because now
It was.
the rooks had to be exchanged, and with just the knight, there's going to be nothing. So Bibi Sarah takes the lead again. She's up 2-1, and she's changing up her openings a lot, not just with black, but with white. The game was aborted. I think
Okay,
maybe, is it time for the first break already? Is it time? Could be time for the first break. Oh, we'll see if we can get. I think it might be time, Jessie, for the first break. Let's just So okay, we're now at the halfway mark of this first time portion, the 5+1 blitz. So the players are going to get a short break, so will we, and then we'll be back shortly with all the action here from this very exciting match, Humpy Koneru against Bibi Sarah Assaubayeva.
See you soon. And we're back. We're seeing round 4 about to start. The players are having some serious luck with the black pieces. So Humpy will be playing black pieces in the next game. So we'll see how this continues. Tomorrow's matchup will be Katerina Lagno versus Valentina Gonina. And I believe that is one of your close friends,
One of my
Fiona.
favorites. Yeah, I didn't realize she was playing tomorrow already. I will be cheering, well, not just tomorrow, but in the whole event. She's my favorite. Maybe I shouldn't have one, but Valentina Gonina, a good friend of mine. Actually, both
Yeah.
these players were playing in Gibraltar just last week. So we will see how their form will carry forward. I believe both of them very strong blitz players and very good at fast time controls. Actually, one thing we haven't mentioned yet in today's matchup, Humpy Koneru, she's actually the reigning world rapid champion. I didn't realize. I saw that just before we went live. So in general, she, I think, very good, well, very strong all-round player, but online blitz is always a slightly different beast than I think anything that you play over the board.
Yeah, was it in 2019 that Katerina Lagno won the World Women's Blitz Championship?
I think so. Yeah, I think she might be the
Yeah,
reigning. I think you might be
yeah.
right.
In 2018, Lagno also played in the Women's World Championship. It was a knockout, 64 players, and came second to Zhu Wenjun.
Yeah.
I actually had the opportunity to play in that tournament, and the first round I played against Katerina Lagno. So I was,
Oh,
yeah, I was there for like 3 days, 4 days, but it was an opportunity of a lifetime. Of course, I booked my flight
absolutely.
back before the tournament began, but it was
Are
an
you, will you be
experience and
playing
a
in
half.
Sochi this year?
I wish. Unfortunately, according to the selections, well, I'm hoping there's still a chance, but I'm very unsure that I'll be making it this year.
Well, we'll be keeping our fingers crossed for sure. Jesse, I'll take us to the game. So
Yes.
as you mentioned, this is game number 4. Bibi Sara Assaubayeva currently in the lead, quite surprisingly. I think she was a big rating underdog, and at least in terms of FIDE rating, but we saw she was the rating favorite on chess.com, and that's so far. She has asserted her dominance. As you mentioned, all 3 games were won with the black pieces. And what is going on here? I mean, once again, we looked away for 1 second, and there's pieces all over the place. The white queen has taken on g7. I wonder if this is some kind of theory, but once again, Bibi Sara, she's really, I think she's extremely well prepared, because if you can blitz out some openings and especially get into tricky positions, which you have prepared, it is giving you not just an edge on the board, but such a big psychological edge, because I think you and I, and probably most people who are watching, can relate that when with little time on the clock, you get hit by some sharp prep, it's a very uncomfortable feeling, to say the least.
Yes, and we already saw Bibi Sara blitz out f3 on the 4th move. So we're seeing the current position at the moment, and after f3, the whole idea was to control the center with e4. And of course, she seems very comfortable with the double pawns on the c file, c3, c4. But we see Humpy Koneru making very good use of that semi-open file with the rook on g6.
Yeah, one thing I'm wondering is that Black King going to be a little unsafe? For now, both sides are very underdeveloped. Well, Black at least has gotten the king side out already, and out very actively. The rook is all the way on g6, the knight all the way on g4. White only has the queen out, and that queen is going to have to move 1 more time, since it was hit by the knight on g4. A move this I didn't expect. Bishop queen e2. I did not expect for the queen to obstruct the way of the bishop on f1. I think in general that bishop would love to go to d3, maybe to e2, but I'm sure she had her reasons.
Yeah, I'm wondering if the idea now is to maybe just chase the knight away, since I can imagine how uncomfortable it must feel here on g4, followed by a move like knight to f3, bishop to g5. I'm just trying to picture a way
I
for
think one
white to
thing
develop.
one thing you have to be very careful is you can play h3 before you play knight f3, because the queen coming into h4 with check. which would be a big problem. So I think that's why she's going knight f3 first. But I absolutely agree with you that we don't want that knight on g4. And I'm absolutely with you. I want to kick it out with h3, but we just have to make sure that the square on h4 is covered first. So knight f3, I think, makes a lot of sense. And I love Bibi Sara's position here, I have to say.
Yeah, all that central control, c takes.
Yeah.
And not having to worry about the double pawns anymore. I'm wondering if queen a5 is a nice way to just get the queen out, and with tempo, but after bishop d2, not so sure.
Yeah, maybe we're helping white as well. But
Ooh.
interesting that white has decided to bring that bishop to b2. And now here comes your move, queen a5 check. And now bishop d2 is not an option any longer. I'm curious, is Bibi Sara going to play queen d2 and offer a queen exchange? I personally always loved keeping queens on the board, keep some attacking chances.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if she decides queen d2 is the best move, objectively, she will play it. The problem is I don't really want to play knight d2. And I also don't really want to play king d1. So maybe by elimination, maybe queen d2.
I'm wondering if after queen d2 is knight e3 a move? I mean, I've purposefully not had the engine on because I don't want to rely too much on that, but I'm wondering if knight e3 is possible.
Looks
because
interesting,
of
for sure.
c2, g2, f1, and also c4 all being hit at the same time.
I mean, I love this suggestion actually of knight e3. Certainly looking very tricky. And if we go back to the game, so Bibi Sara decided no queen trade. She brought the knight back to d2. Koneru developed her last minor piece with bishop d7, and now h3. Finally, that knight is getting kicked back. And I'm curious, where is it going to go? It looks like h6 and f6 are the only two squares available.
Are we liking white's position here because of the king on e8? Maybe we can push d5.
Yeah, some d5, yeah.
This looks kind of dangerous.
You know, I even wonder if white might at some point castle queenside. It looks a bit crazy, but I wonder if we might see something like that.
Queen f2 was played really fast.
Yeah, queen f2. I wonder if one of the ideas must surely be to bring that bishop from f1. I think d3 is still the square that we want to go to. There it goes.
Nice.
Developing the bishop with tempo. The bishop is hitting the rook on g6. And maybe now we're not, maybe, I'm still curious, where is Bibi Sara going to put that king? Nowhere? Is it going to go queenside? Is it going to, I think it's not going to go king. Queenside looks so scary. I wouldn't just want to castle into that semi-open g file, but maybe it's okay.
The question is also posted the knight on h6. Where does the knight go?
Yeah, very good point. The knight probably has to go back via f7. And she does go queenside. Okay.
I'd be more afraid to queenside castle here. I don't know.
But I think the thing is, it's not so easy. If you look at it, how is black going to attack it? Because the bishop on d7 for now is blocked in by the own pawns and the own knight. And the knight just has no squares to jump to. I mean, it can jump back to b8, but even then, if it goes to a6, it still has no jumps. The pawn on a3 is doing such a... I really think those three pawns, the pawn on d4, on c4, and on a3, they are doing such a great job blocking out all the black pieces.
I'm wondering if queen g3 is the plan now. White does have the space, and when you have the space in a position, you want to keep the pieces on the board because that's obviously going to help with an attack. And if you don't have space, you want to trade.
I agree with you. I think black would be very happy to get those queens off the board. And let's see, queen g3. I really like your suggestion. I don't know if white will even be able to hold on to the queen because everything will be hit. And there she goes, queen g3, very nicely spotted. And maybe white has to exchange because the bishop is hit on d3, the pawn is hit on g2, and I don't think there's a way for white to hold on to everything here.
And the nice thing is now we're hitting the bishop, but also there's rook g8, and bishop f1 does seem a little forced.
sad,
Ooh,
a little forced and a little sad in
a little
general.
sad,
When you
yeah.
have to play a move like bishop f1, I think it's a sign that things have gone slightly wrong. That's not a move you want to be to have to make. But we see, I think maybe the position is turning, because suddenly b4 is attacked. Suddenly the white pieces all look miserable. I mean, that poor rook on h1 hasn't played all game. The bishop has just come back to f1 to guard the pawn on g2. The knight now is not doing much. The rook on d1 is blocked in by the knight. So knight f3, and immediately the response by Koneru, bishop h5, hitting that knight. And I don't know, where is that knight going to go? Maybe important to point out, the knight would love to go to e5, but it cannot, because black would simply capture on e5, and then the rook behind the rook on d1 would be hanging. So e5 looks like a square we want to jump into, but unfortunately we just cannot. So, okay, resorting to tactics, things are going to really open up here.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, black is threatening to just win a pawn with bishop takes f3. I'm wondering if Humpy won't want to keep the pressure rather than capture, because, you know, they said that the threat is stronger than the execution.
That is what they say. Indeed, I'm more concerned that she should make a decision. Oh,
Whoa, that is
that's where she
nice.
took some time. So she decided to give up the exchange on
Wow.
f3.
Mm.
So what's her
With
idea?
bishop d3.
After, if we take, she takes, so hitting both rooks. I'm not sure what else
Maybe
can.
bishop d3, and then bishop takes h1 just to get the rook on h1 and take on d5. But I think she'll have to pre-move a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Probably pre-moved. Oh,
Bishop
okay.
e2, I was just gonna say, bishop
I
e2
didn't
looks
see
like
this.
another option for white, and the bishop on h5 is undefended and cannot be defended. So this is probably a very smart way of winning.
Yeah.
But now, what has happened now?
The knight on h6 is this sad.
I mean, look at
Oh,
those
both
two
knights.
knights. They say knights on the rim. Then both knights on the rim is, I don't know. Jesse, you come up with something, a rhyme.
Even more dim. Don't
So
know.
those two knights are not looking good. And especially, what do we know about the bishop pair? The bishop pair works well in open positions, and it doesn't get more open than this. Although, so we see Koneru had to give up now in exchange for one of the two bishops, because the bishop pair was just overpowering here. Bibi Sara is up in exchange, but the time situation, I mean, anything could happen here. Especially, I like it that for Koneru, I like that she has the two knights. I already mentioned knights are so tricky. Two knights are even trickier than one knight. So one of them is gone, and it should be winning for white, but it's not. Maybe it's not even. But what is this? She
Oh,
dropped the knight. There was
I
no
think
time. The
so.
knight was dropped,
Yeah.
and that
Removing like this.
is not gonna be. There's no
Oh
saving
no.
this. The f pawn is going to fall,
And she
and she
flags.
times out. But the position was, of course, completely lost. And Bibi Sara getting the first white win of this match and taking a 3-1 lead. We see both players on the camera. Both, they haven't really, nothing has changed. Both of them still look calm, focused. But this is for sure not the start that Koneru was hoping for. Maybe one thing to mention, I mentioned earlier, she's number 3 in the world. She's starting number 7 in this event. That's because in terms of blitz rating, I checked, she's only number 8 in the world. I think only one of the players above her must be missing in the event. I think it's Goryachkina probably. So yeah, she's the 7th seed, but I don't think the blitz rating does justice to just how strong she is. But here she will need to bounce back. She will need to bounce back very shortly, because 3-1 with the time ticking down, how much, with 28 minutes left, so just under half now in this 5+1 portion, and you don't want to go into the 3+1 being too many points down.
Yeah, I haven't experienced this kind of format with having to play as many games as possible in that 75-minute limit. So that is quite cool to see.
Yeah, and I thought, when we started the show, I thought the more time on the clock, the bigger favorite Humpy would be. I thought the lower the time, the more Bibi Sara's chances would probably grow, without, of course, being too familiar with Bibi Sarah's play style or anything, but just to know that she's 17 years old, you know, she's such a young player, which they tend to be very sharp. They tend to be much quicker also
True.
than their opponents. I mean, I'm more or less the same generation as Humpy, and I can relate. I mean, when I play against those 17 years old online, they tend to just be a lot faster on the mouse than I am. So yeah, I think Humpy will really have to fight back here, try to fight back immediately in the 5+1 portion.
Yeah, we're seeing another Benoni. And as you mentioned, I mean, they kind of have to just shake it off after the game. You don't really see any expression on their faces after the game. It's just this poker face. Were you or are you able to shake off, well, wins, of course, tend to make me feel very overconfident for the next round. Are you able to shake off all the emotions of the previous game when
No,
facing the next one?
I think it's so tough. I mean, the thing is, when I commentate, or when I, you know, sometimes on stream, I have my student Sam. I don't know if he's watching. If he's watching, hi Sam. And I give him this advice, you know, don't let, if you make a mistake in the game, don't let it throw you. You know, just move on. You can say that not just for one move mistakes in game, but also for defeat in a game for the next round. But it's so much easier when I'm Fiona, the commentator, or Fiona, the coach, to say, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
And then when I'm playing, I'm like,
yeah.
have this.
Easier said than done sometimes, because you don't realize that it's happening. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
So
the first time I saw you playing was in the 2018 Olympiad in Batumi. Yes, I still remember you walking with such poise as well towards the board, and I was obviously in awe from a distance, and I was like, oh, that's Fiona, the commentator that I like watch all the time.
I never knew that. That's kind of cute and kind of creepy.
Creepy?
In a nice way.
Okay. I'm a lurker. I wasn't going to come up to you and say hello anyway.
I can't believe we still have never talked in real life. But I very much hope the Olympiad will be able to go ahead in Moscow next year, and we can finally have an IRL chat. But yeah, so as we mentioned, it's so much easier as an outsider with that perspective to think, okay, this is what you should do. Just, you know, don't think about the last 3 games. Just, you know, start anew. But when you're playing, it's different. But I think Koneru, she really, you know, she has that experience. She's been at the top for so long. She's so strong. So I'm confident that she absolutely can bounce back. I saw some comments saying that she's still, you know, to get into that she's not completely in the groove yet. And I probably agree that she's not. She doesn't seem like she's completely in it yet. But it's also, I think that's something, I don't know if you have any comments on that, but it's not so easy, you know, to sometimes get into the match, even if you're like, okay, I'm trying, I want to, but sometimes it's just you don't have the answers to getting into that zone.
No, it's very true. I mean, it's different. When you're looking at a game from an outsider's perspective, you might be seeing a lot more. But when you're the person actually in the game playing, you have all these other factors. You have that psychological factor of, oh my goodness, am I going to win? Thinking about the results. And you can't exactly stop yourself from doing that, because as a competitor, these things cross your mind naturally anyway.
You know, I just decided to take 1 second to look up Humpy's profile here on chess.com. And prior to today's match, her last games she played online were a month ago, May 14th. So I don't know, you know, if she has played elsewhere, but that could be one of the answers. I mean, I would be very surprised, I have to say, if she hadn't warmed up for today's match. Maybe it's very likely she might have a secret account, you know, to try out some openings. But if she hasn't, I mean, she's also very busy. She has a young child. So if she hasn't had much time to warm up and to get accustomed to this online blitz feeling, meanwhile, I look at Bibi Sarah's account, and she's there, you know, playing every day, plenty of games. So I think that makes a huge difference when you're accustomed to playing online blitz almost daily, to to it being something quite rare, which might be the case with Humpy.
Mhm. Maybe BB Sarah has so many games in her database, she's confident that her opponent will not be able to prepare against her. So it's
Yeah.
just like there's so much chess information out there. It's not the fact that a person cannot access that information, it's where to start. You have so many resources, and maybe working on the wrong stuff to improve you, and you never improve at all. So in order to, prepare against BB Sarah, maybe it's to work on your chess without looking at her games, because she maybe has 50,000 games in her database. Who knows?
She's only 17, so she would have had to play a lot
True.
to have 50,000. But maybe
I don't
online,
think 50,000.
online
Yeah.
it could very well be, you know. I think you're absolutely right. I think very likely Bibi Sarah has played a lot more games online than Koneru. And meanwhile, let me just, what is going on in this game? I mean, there's pieces all over the
Yeah.
place.
There's
And
an
knight has
octopus
just,
sitting on D3.
yeah. And
It's got little tentacles.
another octopus on E6, no? Was that
Yeah. No, of course.
octopus?
Oh.
And the black decided don't want that octopus sitting on E6 any longer. Bibi Sarah gives up the exchange. And here, okay, Koneru is up in exchange. Her position, everything seems to be under control. I think bishop E3, I think that bishop is looking to reroute to D4, which would be a beautiful square for the bishop. There would be no pawns which could chase the bishop from that square. And it would be looking down, you know, this diagonal at the king on H8, at the bishop on G7. So I think Humpy clearly in control here. And once again, the only element I feel will be time. She will have to make sure to keep a close eye on the clock. But every trade I feel will bring her one step closer to victory in this game.
Yes, very true. I think in most of the games, if not all the games, she's been in time trouble. So it's just a matter of playing a little bit faster. I'm sure she just wants to make sure she's making the right decision on the board.
Very interesting. So she decided to give the exchange back up and now just to merge a pawn up. So she traded one edge for another. I feel maybe she felt, you know, let's just, well, you mentioned it, that octopus knight. First, black gave up her exchange for the knight on E6. Now white is giving up the exchange for that knight. And she might just feel, and maybe rightly so, that this edge with a pawn up will be easier to play with little time than in a position where you are up in exchange, but your opponent has the tricky knight, has, you know, the knight is jumping around. And here, I think, is a position where she feels it's much easier to control the position. You don't allow so much counterplay. And I think that especially on the black side, the pawn on A7 is very weak. And I'm sure Humpy will be targeting that pawn at some point.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, Baby Sarah just wants to trade the bishops, but also not trade the bishops, because when you're down a material, you want to trade the pawns, not the minor and major pieces here.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see what happens. Of course, in the end game, the king becomes an active piece, and probably you want to get your king to the center and trade rooks at some point too. So
absolutely. I think F3 had that multi-purpose. First of all, we defend the pawn on E4, but we also opened the way for the king, as you mentioned in the endgame. The king wants to be an active piece, and there we see the king making its way to F2. It will probably be looking to get to E3, get closer to the center, maybe even to D3, you know, defend that pawn on C3, keep an eye on everything. And then at some point, I think Koneru, I think it will all revolve around that pawn on A7 or maybe the F file. But Koneru will be looking to get into the black camp somewhere.
I'm imagining that taking the bishop on G7 is one of the goals. Maybe she's just delaying this a couple moves.
Yeah, because I think the nice thing for Koneru, I think she might very well take at some point, but black is almost helpless. Like black doesn't really want to put that bishop. Well, it cannot put it to F8 any longer, and there she goes. So she has exchanged now. And I don't know, I guess this is winning. I don't know how easily it is winning. Rook endings can often be tricky, but I think here black is just this forever weakness on A7, that backward pawn which can never move. So I think Humpy here, you know, slowly that edge will be realized. Although I'm not sure how easy. How do we break this black structure?
Yeah, I'm wondering if h5 was a way forward, because of course you want to try and get the rook to f5 so you can play e5. So this is
I think
definitely,
that was a great
ooh,
suggestion, but also
mm,
g5, now the rook can come into f6, both players
mm,
down to under 10 seconds, and there comes the rook. So the g
ooh,
pawn gets
this one is
exchanged for the
nice.
d pawn,
Mm.
but now the a7 is finally gonna fall, but also these central pawns are
Oh, that's
just
a nice
going to.
intermezzo. Yeah.
And here we see great technique by Koneru on the previous move. She doesn't even want to take the a7 pawn. She's just going to run those d and e pawns, which are going to decide the game. And Bibi Sara resigned. So this one, really nice game, I think, by
Mm.
Humpy Koneru, who reconnects on the score. She's now trailing 3-2, and she is playing black on the next game. So White, Jesse's making a bit of a comeback.
Yeah, it looks like it. Maybe they're just taking turns at this point, and now we're seeing um, something that isn't the Italian, of course. Now we're
No,
just, yeah, seeing the Alekhine. This Alekhine, right?
the
Petrov.
Petrov, the
Petrov, yes,
the
of course.
Russian, so the Russian defense, the Alekhine is when the knight goes to f6 on move
True.
one. Here,
First, move on.
yeah.
Yeah.
So here it went after e5. The Petrov, which has a reputation to be a very solid opening, but I
Mhm.
think lately things have, the games have become a bit more interesting. I think for a long time, the Petrov really had a bad rap of being super solid. I think a lot of people thought of the Petrov as quite a boring opening. But I'm not too familiar with the theory, but I think b3 for sure. I don't think is one of the main lines to put that bishop, to fianchetto the bishop on b2,
I'm
and I
trying to
think
think when the Petrov was actually repopularized. Was it played at the World Champion match,
I think
Carlsen versus Caruana?
well, Karana is one of the leading experts this year, but I don't think it was that much because they played all these Sicilians. I think Karana played
Mm.
mostly c5, but wasn't Kramnik the one who repopularized
Kramnik?
the Petrov in a
Yeah.
match?
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I can't even remember the
he played
year.
the
I need
Berlin
to.
Wall. No, now I'm confused. Sorry,
Berlin.
but I thought he also played the
Yeah.
Petrov, but maybe the chat can let us know who is the player. But you're absolutely right. Karana these days is one of the leading experts. Also, a lot of the top Chinese GMs
Mhm.
play the Petrov, which is interesting because I think it's like a cultural. I think they all learned it sort of together. And I don't
Mhm.
think that Humpy played the Petrov in this game to say, oh, I'm happy to make a draw. I think not at all. And now we see, well, now for sure not at all any longer, because the Black King has gone queenside. If White goes kingside, then for sure this is a sign of an exciting game to come when we have opposite side castling.
Yeah.
Most of the
True.
time, Jesse, I don't know if you would agree, but most of the time it's like about who is going to mate the other first.
Yes, I mean that's a huge step forward. I mean, I'm stating my dominance. I'm going to intentionally castle on the opposite side as you, but maybe White will still castle on the queen side. We don't know yet. But
Yeah, knight
mentioning the
c2,
yeah,
keeping the
mentioning sorry
options.
the
Sorry, Jesse.
Chinese players. Yeah, in addition to who was it that recently retired? I believe they played
Oh,
in the
Wang
candidates
Hao.
event. Wang
Yeah.
Hao recently retired, and I mean the one player I'd love to see a comeback from is Ho Yifan. You think she'll ever come back?
Well, she will be playing she is playing in this Women's Speed Chess Championship. So
Mhm.
maybe we can ask her. If you have the
Yeah,
chance to commentate one of her matches, you can ask her in the interview. I would love
yeah.
to see her come back, but I think she's so busy right now. She's a lecturer at the
Mhm.
university in Shenzhen. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I'm not very good.
I
But
trust you.
so I think for now, unfortunately, it's not in her immediate plans, but let's see. I mean, maybe she can have a great result here and this can motivate her. But last I talked to her, unfortunately, it didn't seem like it was in her immediate plans to come back
Mhm.
full time to chess, which is a big pity, of course. But it's so great to have her playing here in this Women's Speed Chess Championships. And meanwhile, Bibi
Mhm.
Sarah has made up her mind. She has gone queenside as well. So this is going to lead to a much more symmetrical, a lot more positional position.
Mhm. Yeah.
but with once again Bibisara having quite a substantial lead on the clock.
Yeah, I think she's definitely said, okay, you know what? I respect you, Humpy. I'm not going to castle on the opposite side because I'm not going to state my dominance. Let's have a friendly, positional battle here. But I'm
I'm sure
sure
that's
maybe
exactly
she
what she
has it.
was thinking.
I'm sure she has just the mindset of let me keep it solid, simple, and satisfying because of course I'm a point up and I only need a couple more draws to hold it. Do you
Yeah.
know what the countdown is on? Sorry.
Yeah, so it's on 12 minutes. I was actually
Mhm.
going to say, I agree with
Yeah.
you. I think for Bibisara, if she can keep her lead into the faster time control, so next up there will be 45 minutes of 3+1. I think if she can maintain that lead going into the 3+1, she will be happy. I don't. I would be surprised if she's actively, and I'm not saying that's what you were saying. I don't think she's actively playing, for I want to make a draw, but I think she's just saying I'm happy to keep things solid here at the
Yeah.
moment. But now we've seen a small change in the pawn structure.
It was
And
very difficult to take on g4. I don't know if you're looking at that position as well.
Mhm.
If we go back a couple moves
Yeah,
here. So it is quite a sneaky move, I think, by
quite a
Humpy.
sneaky move with the
Yeah,
rook on e8, looking down at the
yeah.
queen, and a lot of threats. Yeah, and this would be, I think, just completely winning for black in this line. So Bibisara did not fall for that. And
Yeah.
instead, some pieces have come off the board, and I'm curious what the evaluation of this position is. I see the bar is somewhere in the middle. I don't know if I would be happy as white to have the semi-open F file, or if I would be worried about my weakness on E3.
So one weakness for maybe just a measly pawn here on f7. So giving up e3 seems like Baby Sarah is happy to give up this weakness, this backward pawn here on e3
He
for
will
f7.
take on f7, I think, and it will be a trade. And I think it's a trade that Bibisara clearly is happy, I think, to make. If that trade happens, we will be back to a completely symmetrical pawn structures. So Humpy says, no, I'm not going to take on e3. Let me defend my pawn on f7 and see what are you going to do to defend your pawn on e3. I guess rook e1 is the answer.
Yeah, I
Maybe she's
like this
thinking
idea.
which rook. Oh, I
Yeah,
don't know. What else could she be thinking about? No, she goes rook
the other one.
e1,
Mhm.
and Koneru triples on the e file. I guess here, I don't know, which side would you like to play? Okay, now things are gonna change a lot again with Bibisara opening up the center with e4.
I like this queen h6 move, actually. I was looking at queen h6 in the beginning just to target e3 and h2, but looks like the knight is undefended. I don't know what happens after bishop to c1, but at least it's possible to take this pawn here on e4. So we'll see what happens.
Queen h6, definitely very interesting option, but careful for Humpy. She's down to 30 seconds, especially here when the opponent has 2 minutes more. 2-minute clock difference is so much at this level. So in the end, she goes for queen g6, just getting that queen out of the e file, keeping an eye on the pawn on e4.
As mentioned, board cleanup coming soon.
What happens after e5?
e5. Ooh.
Where do we put that bishop?
I suppose the bishop has some time to.
Yeah, it cannot be taken because the rook on e8 is attacked, on e1 is attacked twice. That's a good point.
Is the rook e6 okay? I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe that's fine. But then f7 is hanging, so
f7, yes.
I don't know, e5 could be tricky, at least asking some questions. Let's see what Bibisara. So Bibisara is taking some time. I think she's handled the clock very maturely. I feel that just because Humpy was down on the clock, I think she hasn't fallen for this trap when, very often when our opponents are low on time, we tend to just want to play against their time. Let's flag them. They're so low on time. Let me just do something. But I think Already we see Bibisara very mature for her 17 years. She's not falling for that. She's taking her time and she's dropping down to close to 1 minute here. But again, I mean, it's something that is so much easier said than done. It's very easy for me to sit here and say you shouldn't play fast just before because your opponent is low on time. And then when I'm at the board myself, I'm like, oh. So e5, f6. There's a pawn hanging on d5 actually. What is stopping Bibisara from taking
Tactics.
This is really messy. I mean, they're getting very close on the clock as well. Bibisara has caught up almost completely, 33 seconds and ticking. Humpy just under 30. She has spent
a minute and 37 seconds on that e5 move.
Incredible. She does take the pawn. Humpy takes on e5. And what now? Do we want to take on e5, just have some more trades? I wonder if white can somehow use the pawns on the on the queen side to start an attack. I see the king on c8 looks a little bit less safe than the king on a1, which is safely tucked away in the corner. And now Bibisara is just throwing all the pieces in. We see the bar really likes black, but I think once again, with so little time on the clock, the bar is almost
has to move.
Yeah. I think almost so many of these time scrambles just get decided by the clock. So c4 opening up that bishop from b2, which hasn't played much all game, but Koneru clearly in the driver's seat. The rook's doubled on the d file. That passed pawn on d3 is dangerously close to the white king. And here a2 was hanging as well. She did not take that, but rook e1 looks like it's just going to wrap the game up. And we see a timeout, but it might as well have been a resignation. And Jessie, the match is suddenly tied 3-3.
I'm not even playing and my heart is pounding. Not even joking.
And it looks like it's going to be the last game of this 5+1 portion, because we have only 5.5 minutes remaining on the tournament clock, and we haven't seen any quick draws. I don't think we will see any quick draws in this matchup. So very likely this is going to be the last game. Koneru with the white pieces, I'm sure she will be looking to, really complete the comeback, win another game, and take the lead for the first time in the match going into the 3+1 portion.
Yeah, we'll see what Bibisara plays against Humpy's d4. I think all of Humpy's white games have been d4 first move, and we've seen a Benoni a lot of the time. So now she's going for King's Indian.
I think she's mixed it up almost every time. She played one Benoni, she played one Grunfeld. Now she plays a King's Indian defense. So Bibisara really saying, I'm gonna play all the openings here, today. Which also means that during the break, I feel a lot of the times when I've watched the Speed Chess Championships in this format, especially where players stick to their openings, you can tell that during the break, they will go and look up some lines and see what should I do here. But in this match, I don't think that Humpy is going to spend any time looking at any openings, because Bibisara has literally mixed it up every single game.
Yeah, probably the best preparation is to go have a cup of tea.
Absolutely. You're more of a coffee person though, right?
I am. I love my coffee. Yes. And already today, okay, it's 5 p.m. Where I am, but I've had 2 cups of coffee.
Time zone, actually, yeah?
Okay, yeah. Nice. You're in
Central European, in Luxembourg. Yes. I'm back home.
Oh, you're in Luxembourg. Awesome. And you're born in Luxembourg, right?
I was born and bred in the small.
Born and bred.
The small Luxembourg. But
what language did you speak growing up?
Luxembourgish mostly, which many people don't realize.
That's a language? I didn't know that. Is it very similar to German?
Yeah, a little bit. If we get some downtown, if we go downtown later, no, we get some downtime, I can say
Yeah.
a few words. But you were gonna, before we come back to the game, which cup
Yes.
of coffee
Sorry.
number, how many are you
Oh,
on?
I've had two today and a Red Bull as well. So I'm not proud of that, but I'm owning it, you know.
Very good. I'm quietly on the water, a lot of glass of water. It's quite warm here, but even warmer, things are heating up for the players. This is the last game. The clock is ticking down, 2.5 minutes to
Yes.
go. I think
Are you a
Koneru,
coffee or tea person?
I used to be neither. But then tea, I started drinking some tea because I studied in London and my
Mhm.
housemates were outraged that I wouldn't drink tea. So I got introduced to tea then. I never drank coffee, but then my boyfriend Alex, he's a big coffee person. So I was also introduced a little bit to coffee, but I don't like the taste of coffee. So I can only have a latte with a lot of milk. The milk here, the better.
Oh,
But I'm
okay, that's good.
not too big, not too big on either, I have to say. If I had
Okay.
to choose, probably tea. Or team hot chocolate. Team hot chocolate.
Yes. Or maca. Maca is really good. Yes, hot
Um,
chocolate.
yeah, they're really good. So in the game, whoops, sorry, I just kicked my
Oopsie.
microphone.
Oh no.
I think that Humpy will be very, very happy here. I think this is the type of position that she will have, that she going into the match that she would have loved to get. She has slightly more space. I think these are, structures that she will be very familiar with. I think all in all, it's probably fair to say Humpy has or should have better understanding of chess. She is, in terms of classical rating, outrating her young opponent by 200 points. So that is quite a level difference. And I think this is exactly what she would have wanted to have, minimal risk. Sometimes, of course, King's Indians can get very sharp, but here
Mhm.
Black doesn't have this all-out attack, and it feels like White is in control. She's also only a minute down on the clock, so it's not too bad. Not too bad yet.
For now, we're of course expecting, but hopefully, well, we're hoping not. We're hoping Humby will keep a keen eye on the time.
He's gone into the tank because I think Bibi Sara is also doing absolutely the right thing. The knight came to f6 to put pressure
Ooh.
on the white center. And interesting, so she spent some time, decided to push d6, which is a very double-edged move. The question with those advanced passed pawn, of course, is always, is that passed pawn a strength or is it a weakness? It can be very strong in some cases. In other cases, it can just drop off the board.
Mm.
So a very double-edged pawn, but in this position, it looks like the pawn is well defended for now. A rook is probably going to come to d1. A white rook is probably going to come to d1 to support pawn further. And I really like Humpy's positioning.
Do you think f4 is a possibility for Black? I mean, I haven't experienced the King's Indian much myself, but I have seen some of the ideas
Yeah,
kind of
giving up.
Black pushing.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting option to give some squares to your pieces. Maybe in the knight could look to jump into e5. I don't know. I think definitely it might have been an interesting option. I think Bibi Sara is keeping her options open for now. She's first of all what she's doing, Queen d7, blocking the d pawn from advancing further. But also the queen is sneakily looking down at h3. For now, there's still a black pawn in the way, and the bishop from g2 is defending. I saw you draw I like that idea actually of the white knight jumping
Sorry.
into c5. I like that idea a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, they say the
Um,
best blockade of a passed pawn is a knight, but the worst is a queen.
yeah,
So I wonder how White will take advantage of this.
I'm
I'm
just a
not
little
sure.
bit concerned. I guess knight a4, I like it, but black would probably only meet it with
Mm,
d6.
probably.
And
But then again,
interesting,
this diagonal is a
yeah.
little weak. Maybe now the idea is to do it. But first, ooh, knight
Okay.
b5.
Knight b5. So the knight is looking to jump into c7.
Mm.
And this is very sharp. I mean, also black now suddenly, a second ago I was saying I don't see the attack, but I think your move f4 is getting, more and more tempting for Black to play. I'm sure Black would love to bring the final rook into the game, the rook from A8, which hasn't moved all game. If we could bring one rook to G8, the other rook to F8, something like that. But maybe there isn't much time. And these positions are so concrete. Very often, you know, you can't afford to spend some tempi to improve your pieces, and it's just all out attack. And we see the Black Knight jumping into E4.
I'm not sure if it's a good idea to take it, and Humpy needs to make a decision fast because she has 15 seconds on the clock, because H3 is hanging after pawn takes, so maybe queen needs to move somewhere. Ooh.
Yeah, this is a big problem here, I would say now, the time situation for Humpy. This is not the type of position. In the previous game, I think it was fine. It was an end game where she was in control. But here there's so many pieces. The pieces are all over the board. And
very
now
unclear.
G4. I mean, it's so brave to play G4 with so little time on the clock, because there's a lot to calculate. I'm just going to try this. Sun has started shining full force into my face. Let me just.
You can't handle the heat. You got to get out of the kitchen.
I know. Okay, I'll fix it during our break. Let's stay with the game. So G4.
Is everything okay?
In my no, it's the roof, the windows. I realized probably not close them while we're live. We will have a break very soon, because actually the time is up in this 5+1 portion. So as soon as this game is over, there will be a break, and then after the break, the players will continue with the 3+1. But I think this game is very important, because if we have a winner here right now, the position seems to be in the balance. But with 3 seconds on the clock, this is so tough to play for Humpy.
Yeah,
taking the lead is just psychologically. It's nice to go into the break and feel I'm ahead in this match.
Very true. But she's hovering over 2 seconds, probably relying on pre-moves at this stage, because you can never trust whatever lag. Of course, you're relying on your internet connection, not so much. I mean, I have IRL lag all the time, but I suppose internet lag is something else.
I have to say, I'm so impressed with Humpy. I mean, we see her there on camera, how stoic she is with so little time on the clock. I mean, when I see myself when I'm streaming, I have got 2 seconds, and she did flag.
Oh.
But we see once again very little reaction from either player. They really, I mean, I'm so impressed with how calm and collected both players are, despite the crazy positions they had, the crazy time scrambles. But wow, Bibisara, Jessie, she is taking a 4-3 lead here at the end of this 5+1 portion.
Yeah, it's nice to see, and at such a young age as well, taking on a very esteemed, experienced chess player. So we'll see how it goes with the faster time controls, and we'll see you after the break.
Absolutely, see you soon.
And welcome back. And we are moving on to the next portion of the match. We have 45 minutes of 3+1, I believe. And
Absolutely.
yeah, Fiona.
Jesse, absolutely. 45 minutes of 3+1 to look forward to. That's not the only thing we have to look forward to today. Right after this match, the Crypto Champs will be kicking off with your hosts, Danny Rensch, Alexandra Botas, and Daniel Naroditsky. That is tonight at 10 a.m. Pacific, 7 o'clock Central European Summer Time. So really right after our match. So don't go anywhere. Once this match is over, the chess entertainment continues right away, and very looking forward to this new event and see how the different crypto contestants do. Jesse,
Yeah, do you know much about cryptocurrency?
Not too much. I have some people talk to me about it, but I personally am. I was just saying to our producer Vic during the break, I'm more of an old school. All my money is in the bank.
Yeah, no, me too. I think the only reason I would invest in cryptocurrency is because the Doge looks really cute.
As good a reason as any, Jesse.
Yes, Dogecoin.
Meanwhile, the match, have they continued? No, so they haven't continued yet. So next up, let's recap what happened in the 5+1 portion. Bibi Sara Assaubayeva has really, really impressed me. And I think a lot of us who were watching, she was quite a big underdog on paper coming into this match, but she showed us all this 2700 chess.com blitz rating didn't come from nowhere. And she has taken a lead 4-3. We had no games drawn, actually. I just realized no games drawn so far. All games ending decisively, and the players have just started playing again. So next up, we have, as you can see, the timer is back, 45 minutes of 3+1. So this is going to get significantly quicker. And once again, Bibi Sara is switching now. She's opened with d4 again. So she's opened with both e4 and d4. And we just had a Queen's Gambit decline. So something quite solid, quite classical.
So I just want to go back to the opening to see how it evolved. I'm very familiar with this line. I remember the last time I played this line was in the Olympiad 2018.
With which color?
I was playing black. And I went with this line, if I'm going back a little bit. So c5, after knight takes c3, pawn takes in c5. And my opponent actually went with this move, which is not a very great move. After I followed with queen f6, the best way to go about this, if we go back to the original game, rook b1, I don't actually know about rook b1. So this is really new to me. I'm very used to the whole bishop b4 giving up the bishop for the bishop on c1. So,
yeah, the players have actually, Bibi Sara, once again, she has been playing very fast. I saw I was called out earlier. I was saying, she's blitzing out her moves, and someone was saying, oh, she's blitzing in blitz. How surprising.
Oh no, I missed that comment.
Oh. Still, she just, what I was trying to get at, and I'm sure the chat understood, but they love to pick at what we're saying. What I was saying is, I think Bibi Sara has played the opening stages, I think, in almost every game faster than Humpy. I don't know if it's necessarily a sign of better preparation. I wouldn't say so, but maybe just being more comfortable. And coming back again to what I said about, maybe she has this blitz repertoire that she's used to playing online. And yeah, in this game, what do you make of her position? How do you like White?
Yeah, I think playing fast is definitely a sign that you're well prepared, but it could also just be her, I don't know, message to Humpy saying, you know what, I'm not afraid. I got this, But I like this annoying move, bishop to b4. I definitely would have played a move like that just to chase the rook back. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some repetition.
Are we going to see our first draw, Jesse? Rook e1, bishop b4 would be a repetition. And Bibi Sara, interestingly, it is Bibi Sara. Well, Humpy could, of course, have deviated one more time herself. But Bibi Sara is the first to say, no, I'm not going to play rook e1. And do you feel in your games when this happened, when there is a repetition, And I always feel it's a bit uncomfortable when they deviate. I always feel they are asserting a certain psychological dominance.
Not entirely. I'm usually the one who sways away from this repetition. I don't know
So
why,
you are
but I
not
really don't like
on the
draws.
receiving end. You are the one who decides.
Yeah.
I think being on the receiving end can be sometimes. I don't think that Humpy will be too shook here. We see her on the camera. She's looking. I mean, both players have been in the same pose. Really, they've just been super focused. But also, there's some players. Just because you're expressive, of course, doesn't mean that you're not focused. So there are players, even at the top. I mean, Magnus, Hikaru, Jan Nepomniachtchi, all of these are not players to hide their emotions. And I think that's one of the
Very
nice
true.
things. One of
Yeah.
the nice things in this time and age when we are playing so much online. I mean, I'm
Yes.
craving for over-the-board chess, but I feel the players have let more their emotions and their expressions run free a lot more, which has been nice to see. But here we haven't seen anything yet from either player. Maybe we missed it. Let us know in the chat if one of them, if we see a fist pump or something that we have missed. But I don't think that's quite their style.
Yeah, and I mean, even you mentioned a lot of sort of theatrical chess players showing their emotions over the board, or maybe using that as a sort of tactic as well. It reminds me of a lot of South African players who have the same sort of personality over the chessboard. Maybe in person they're very calm and collected and all the rest, but on the chessboard, it's just something different. Have you been to You have been to South Africa
I have
before?
been, yeah. I came to Cape Town a few years ago, completely randomly. I did play some chess even. I met a lovely guy called Heini, and Heini took me to a chess tournament. Batu Kobese was there. I made some new friends. So it was really great.
That's the player I'm referring to. So Watu is very expressive on the chessboard, and he's a joy to watch play chess. So that's quite something.
And a joy to be around as well. Meanwhile, in the game, the queens have come off. In general, I always prefer, I'm a very attacking player. I prefer when queens are on the board, but here that doesn't mean, whoa, why is the engine? Oh, there's a skewer, bishop e6, got it by Koneru. And she is going to pick up the exchange. And I think this, once again, is a position where there isn't really any counterplay for white. I think Humpy will probably play rook c8. There she goes. She will be looking to bring the rook to c1, trade a rook. And she's just firmly in control. And for the first time, maybe Jessie, she's also up on the clock.
Yeah, she's up on the clock. And okay, 30 seconds versus 20 seconds. But I'm sure Humpy's feeling very comfortable in this position, just being the exchange up and a way forward, of course. Is there a pawn advantage? Yes.
Yeah, she has just taken the pawn on e4. I also think, is knight c3? Can we be very greedy and take the pawn on a2 as well? Maybe there's no need. Maybe we can just, as she's doing, bring the king. There's no need to rush. We're up an exchange, we're up a pawn. Maybe one thing for our viewers, in general, what I like to do in these positions, if I'm the exchange up, I like to keep my rook on a dark square, on a square that's the other color of my opponent's bishop, to make sure that I don't fall for any skewers, any double attacks. And she's doing just that. The a2 pawn has now fallen, and this is completely game over. I don't know. I wonder, have we seen a single resignation yet? I feel like a lot of the times the positions were completely lost, but they finished by timeout. But we see our possibly first resignation of the match, and Humpy has leveled the score 4-all, and she will be playing white in the next game, opening with knight f3.
Yeah, we're seeing a very simple way of beginning. I remember commentating, I think it was on a Title Tuesday event on chess.com, and all his games he played knight f3, g3, bishop g2, castles, and whatever happened next, well, it just came naturally. So fianchettoing both bishops, I think, is a very smart idea, especially when it comes to the faster time controls. 3+1 seems like a lot of time, but it really isn't. Like you said, with that 1 second increment, you barely feel it. So I think fianchettoing, sorry, my pronunciation. For the longest time, I said fianchetto. I go to the World Juniors in Italy and suddenly everyone's shouting at, no, it's fianchetto. Okay, so now I'm pronouncing it
I
correctly.
also have my problem because now, because my username is Fiancetta, my brain just freezes and I have to think, what is it, Fianchetto, Fiancetta? And it's just like, it takes me a few seconds every time now because I literally
Wait, you
just,
telling me it's not fianchetto?
I am telling you, it's Fiancetta over here, Fianchetto over there, or Fianchetto over there. They're so tough.
Oh my gosh, my whole life
Like
is a lie.
a tongue twister.
It's a tongue twister, yes. Oh
But
my
I
goodness.
think you're making a great point. These openings, you know, especially when you're well familiar with these systems, like these reti systems or double fianchetto, you can play so many moves very quickly and just get a comfortable position that you're well familiar in. And I think even later in the bullet portion, in the 1+1, this will become maybe even more important. But here, I don't know if this is really what Humpy was hoping to get. We see her playing b4, so trying to get what you were saying earlier, to attack the base of the pawn chain. And this is not as solid as I thought it was going to be. I think this could become messy quite quickly, and we see this time again Humpy down a minute on the clock, but still no. I keep looking at the cameras, hoping to see something, but I see nothing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like staring at a wall because having a poker face is just so important, you know? Maybe you're so deep in thought that you forget to even have an expression on your face, but I mean, everything's going on in your mind. I was very confused by the b5 move, because attacking the base of the pawn chain, of course, naturally, I think in any instance, I would have just easily captured on c5, not even thinking about it, because of course
Yeah.
that made d4 really weak. But b5 was played with such confidence, and I'm wondering what the plan is here for Humpy.
I guess one of the plans will be to push a4, try to attack that knight on a5, maybe just get those pawns rolling. I guess the knight might be headed to b3 or to e4, and the bishop on b2 right now, it's completely dead. I don't think it's ever coming back to life on that diagonal, that a1, h8 diagonal anymore. So I suspect Humpy will at some point bring the bishop back to c1 and try and activate it along the other diagonal. So the center is now completely locked after e4.
This bishop on b2 is something I'd call a good bad bishop, because it's a good bishop for white since all his pawns are on light squares, so the range should be better. But all the black pawns are on dark squares and it's impossible to get through. So it's actually a good bad bishop.
Yeah, I think that we might very well see that bishop come back via c1, maybe to d2, trying to give itself up for the knight on a5, or even, you know, bishop c1, maybe to g5, maybe even just to d2 anyway, get the queen behind on c1, maybe look to exchange those bishops. I don't know. I mean, it's
like
a
that.
tough position. I don't know who I would like to play. I think it's very likely at some point either the knight from f3 or the knight from f6 is going to go away, and maybe we will see some break either with f4 for white or f4 for black. So there goes the knight away. I'm curious, is black already ready for the break with f5? That's what I would always be looking to do, but maybe there is no rush.
15 seconds. And I really liked your idea of bishop c1, bishop d2. That's exactly what I would go for. I didn't even consider it until you mentioned it. Oh, we have f4
Interestingly,
and f5.
so both, we have both moves on the board. But again, as you mentioned, I mean, the clock is such a big problem here because like the last time, I think 2 games ago, it's just there's so many pieces, there's so many tactics. Yes, for now it's not crazy yet, but things will open up, and it's just it's so hard to just rely on pure instinct and make move after move after move just on your 1 second increment. So a really tough spot here for Humpy. So Bibisara, but we've seen also Bibisara sometimes take a lot of time in these crucial moments and just catch up on the clock. I think here there's a lot to consider. What do you do with this tension in the center? Do you capture? So she goes for the capture on e4, immediately responded with queen e6. So white is going to take that knight, but can we take on f3 now?
I think
Taking on
f3
f3
and
looks...
bishop takes f3, and I don't know if it's 2 pieces for a rook.
Yeah,
Probably.
because the bishop on b7 is defended not just once, but
Ooh,
twice by the queen
probably
and by the
take it.
knight.
I'm not sure where you put the queen. There we go.
Yeah, and now, I mean, we have a material imbalance where black has 2 minor pieces for the rook, which in general always favors the side with the 2 pieces, and this is no exception. White doesn't really have much counterplay, and she doesn't even have a pawn in general. We often see the imbalance 2 pieces against a rook and a pawn. So here it's just 2 pieces. Humpy will be looking to create something, doubling the rooks maybe on the e file, on the f file. But that knight is, oh, it was
It is a
fork. I
whole
didn't even...
piece.
Yeah, so
Oh
now
my
it's just a
goodness.
piece.
Yeah.
And with so much time, such a big time advantage on the clock. I love this move, bishop h6. That bishop is looking to come to e3, and Humpy just resigned.
Another resignation. That was
And
tight. That was
that was
definitely difficult.
crazy.
Yeah.
And Bibi Sara taking the lead. I mean, they've been exchanging blows all the time, as we mentioned. There's been no draw yet. But also, I think Humpy hasn't been in the lead. Or has she?
We have another one of these. So c5, and I'm not sure.
Oh,
After rook b1, we take on d4, bishop e7, and we have another one of these. Yeah, but like you said, they've been exchanging blows, left hook, right hook, and they'll be going at it like this.
it's been non-stop.
Yeah.
Was Humpy, let me see. Was Humpy in the lead? She was never in the lead, yeah?
I think not in the beginning. Humpy had black pieces first.
No, I think she lost the first game.
Yes. So she's always been trailing a
I think
little
she's
bit.
she equalized at some point, but she's still looking for that. So now in this game, she'll be looking to equalize. I think also black has made up, the white pieces have made up for the deficit from the earlier stages where black just, I think they won the first four games or something. So in general, I think, especially I feel in online chess, I much prefer having white even more. I generally prefer, like most people, having white, but I feel that in online blitz, it's an even bigger advantage.
Very true. But I think, as the tournament goes on, the time control is going to get less, of course, and things will just get crazier, I'm sure. Because now we're seeing piece blunders, and I'm not sure at what stage, at such a high level, you would experience a queen blunder. Because I mean, already at like 5-1, I'm blundering my queen. So I'm not sure what the equivalent is. Maybe 15-second chess. Yeah, you never know.
Maybe we'll see a so-called voters gambit in the bullet, but yeah, you're right. It is, of course, very rare at this level. What do you make, Jesse, of this position? You mentioned you played similar structures as white. I guess my guess is you're going to tell me you're happy with your center here.
Actually, as black, I've experienced
as black.
this.
Sorry, you
yes.
said.
No problem.
Sorry.
I'm not a d4 player, actually.
Yeah, like me,
yeah.
you should remember that. I think we're both team
It's okay.
E4.
Yes. I think the one thing to keep in mind is that these pawns are really well placed together next to each other. The moment you push one of them, you're kind of leaving a weakness behind in the center. For instance, if you push e5, you're leaving d5. And of course, if you push d5, you're just losing a pawn. So it's important to obviously time this correctly. And she's going with e5, but it's also a give and take. Yes, you're giving away this weakness of d5, but maybe you're gaining some space on the king side,
maybe some
and
attacking,
possibly
some mating attacks.
Yes, I really like that. And after knight d5, I'm wondering how white is going to go about that. Maybe bishop to e4 or queen to e4, but either way, I think it's still difficult because f5 is coming.
Yeah, I think queen e4 is the move you want to play, but as you mentioned, you have to time it well. But
I don't know, can the knight go back?
Sarah just goes for it immediately.
Yeah, I wonder if the knight can go back. Oh, the knight went back because of the bishop on b7.
But now maybe we don't have to go back to e2. Can we go maybe to f4 and just try and inch closer? Maybe the queen can go to
like
g3.
that.
at some point looking down at the king.
I really
My
like that.
guess is
Yes.
that she will not go back to e2, and there she goes.
Nice. Yeah, good call. And maybe queen g3 now, just
Yeah,
so.
queen
Oh, queen
g4
g4,
even, now
nice.
that the knight is gone.
Yeah.
So now bishop h6 is a threat. So maybe black has to step the king out of the, maybe the king has to step to h8. Yeah, because bishop h6 was just
that was fast.
such a big threat. But now we're threatening to take, I guess, again on h6. Yeah.
Yeah, going for checkmate. So bishop takes, some very simple ideas here. I'm not too sure how black is going to react. I mean, it seems like a seemingly novice attack because anyone wants to go for mate directly, but in order to stop it, of course, you need the best defense. I'm not sure how black will go about this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky, and she plays f5, which is, of course, a move you don't want to play unless you have to, but this is a spot where you just had no choice.
I'm wondering if en passant is on the table. View en passant and queen. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, maybe you can explain what is en passant, because I was just yesterday hearing that it's the most requested, the most frequent ticket on chess.com. So maybe we can show it.
Well, it's a magic move. It disappeared. No. Okay. So en passant is basically when your opponent plays, well, it has to be the first time this pawn is moving 2 squares forward, and it has to be directly next to your opponent's pawn. So this opponent's pawn is in your territory. I'm probably really bad at explaining this. And all we got to do.
It's tough to explain. I found it's really hard to explain en passant. I liked your first explanation. It's magic.
It's suggested cheating in chess, but allowed. En passant.
And while we were talking, actually, the queens have come off the board, which surely has to be huge relief to Humpy, because she was under quite a lot of pressure. The attack seemed pretty scary. Now, I think she's back, but the problem is she has this weakness on e6, the pawn on e6, what we call an isolated pawn. White, of course, also has an isolated pawn on d4, but I'm always scared when that hanging pawn is closer to my king. Although the queen's off, that doesn't necessarily mean that there is no more attacking chances for white. White still has that bishop pair, which could coordinate. The rooks are not so active for now.
I believe there were a lot of moves made. I don't know why it didn't update for me. Okay.
I didn't see. I was
for some reason it didn't update. I didn't even do any analysis. So let me see what we've missed.
Talking about
there we go, guys.
I didn't realize.
Oh, my apologies, guys. This is all on me. My apologies.
No,
there we go.
So I'm sure you could all follow what I was saying blindfolded. We were just training you guys blindfold skills. So that
of course, we're just testing you. Brain training. It's important.
Exactly. And so we see one more pair of rooks has come off. Again, time is a factor. Humpy is down to 5 seconds. But she's also still under, well, she's dropped a pawn, that e6 pawn that I was talking about, that dropped, but d4, white was able to hold on to d4. So white is just up a pawn. And I think slightly more active because the rook on c1 is controlling that open C file. And once again, we talked about it so many times, when you up material, swap material. Jessie, do you think that could catch on if you up material, swap material?
I like that. That even like
has a ring to it.
It just rolls off the tongue. Yes, exactly.
Rook c8, there it goes. If you up material, swap material. And that's exactly what Bibi Sarah is doing. She has to be careful that the knight doesn't get trapped. And the black king is making a run for it, but now the knight is on d2. It's cutting off the 2 important squares. The king cannot come into e4 or to c4. And Bibi Sarah here, I think she's very easily going to convert this one. You just sort of, here's one of the positions. What is nice, you don't have to calculate so much. You just have to push the pawns, bring the knight, and it just plays itself, basically.
True, but it's very difficult to accept it. I mean, you're still in the psychological state of what just happened in the middle game. I'm still trying to process what just happened, and I'm trying to save this position. So that was very well played by both sides, and Bibi Sarah came out on top. So we have a 2-point lead by Bibi Sarah now, and another King's Indian, perhaps.
And we're already we've already gone down half of our 45 minute portion, so only 22 minutes remain. I was just saying to our producer during the break, I've watched a lot of these Speed Chess Championship matches, but I always, when you're watching, especially the 5+1 portion, to me always feels like quite long. But here in the commentary, you see that just the time is just going like this. It's magic.
It's true. It goes really fast because I think we're constantly looking and investing our time in the games. Of course, it's going as quickly as it is for the players, I'm sure. Because when
Yeah.
you're playing, time flies. But when you're waiting for someone, it's a little different. Yeah.
That is so true. I always, actually, it reminds me when when I was younger and I was in school, our school days were always 6-hour days. And I remember the days just seemed endless. And then I would play a 6-hour chess game and it would go so quickly. And I'm like, time is
Yes.
really, really relative.
Yes, I suppose. And especially if you're in school and you're just not in the mood for a subject. Maybe you like the subject, but you're just not in the mood to be there or to learn on that day. It's like, fine, I'll do the homework. But, time drags when you're not having fun. Yeah.
I still sometimes have nightmares that I have like homework to do or I have to sit a test. And whenever I wake
No.
up, I'm like, thank God that was just a dream.
You were traumatized. Oh my
I was
goodness.
traumatized.
Yeah.
Thank God now
Banned
we're
schools.
able to do what we love the most. And I think this match has been such a treat. Both players really treating us to such fighting chess.
Mhm.
We're still waiting for our first draw. I don't know if we're going to get one at all, because
Yeah.
also as the time takes, that the shorter the time control, the less draws in general we see. And what
This
do
is
we
very
make? We
true.
haven't talked too much about the position. What do you think of it, Jesse?
I like the e5 move, just solidifying this weakness on e6. So maybe Sarah's gonna have to keep an eye on that one, or maybe even give it up for activity later on. We'll see what happens. So I'm sure rook e1 is on the table, but also once the knight moves, knight on g5 is in trouble, queen's in trouble.
I'm absolutely with you. I'm also a big fan of Humpy's e5 push, and just that isolated pawn on e6 is just going to be a weakness probably for the remainder of the game, I think, which is why white will always have a small edge. What black would like to do is get some active counterplay. So I'm sure black is looking to get the knight out to c6 with tempo, hitting the queen. I know it's white to move, but get the knight to c6, maybe jump into d4, and just start creating some kind of threat.
Yeah, it looks like she's doing that. So queen has to retreat, maybe e2, not even e2, because knight d4 is an immediate threat after that. Where do you put the queen?
Yeah, where do you put
As
I mean, it's
g3?
also, I really liked white a second ago, but
Mm.
I think black also has active counterplay here. And
Mhm.
once again, I always forget about the clock. And whenever I look, I really think it's a big problem that Humpy I think it's one of the main reasons that she's trailing behind on the score, because it's just so hard to play your best chess when you're playing on a few seconds.
Mhm. I wonder if it's a proper excuse to blame the internet. Just as Judith Polgar put it, I never beat a healthy man because they were always having some problem if they lost on that day. It's like, oh no, I had a cough. Oh no, this. Oh no, that. So it's like, oh, my internet is just as a streamer, I think I make this excuse a lot. The internet lagged out and chat distracted me or something like that.
Yeah, I think we
Um,
all have, all our streamers, we have a nice collection of excuses that we can rotate. Um,
yes.
but I think I would be shocked. We will have an interview with the players afterwards. I would be knowing Humpy a little bit. I don't think she will be blaming the internet. I mean, it also has to
Yes.
be said. Bibi Sauer has just been hugely impressive, and I think she has a deserved lead at this stage. Of course,
Mhm.
Humpy can still turn things around in the 1+1 portion. We'll have plenty more games, still 17 minutes to go in this portion. But yeah, Bibi Sauer has just been Very, very impressive. We haven't seen, no, we haven't seen a blunder. We haven't, she's so, I can't believe she's 17. I mean, I keep looking at
Mm,
her camera and she's so calm. She's so
yeah.
focused. We
She
haven't
looks
seen her
younger than
panic.
17, actually.
She does look
Much younger.
younger. Yeah.
Yeah. I need to know her skincare routine.
Oh,
Whoa. What a
tactics.
nice move.
I
That
mean,
was
she's
all
also
well
so
spotted. Yeah.
sharp. She's so
Mm.
sharp, Bibi Sarah. And here it looks like she's going to take a 3-point lead.
Mm.
And
Oh
it's
my
already
goodness.
getting, we're already getting into very dangerous territory here for Humpy, who will really, I don't know what she will have to do before the bullet, but it feels like maybe it will be easier in a way if the pressure comes off. If you're down 3 points, it's like, okay, you just have to go for it almost every
True.
game.
True.
But
So all
again,
the formats count the same?
yeah, all the formats are
Okay.
the same, yeah.
So I mean, in the bullet portion, of course, you're gonna get a lot more games in. Even though it's only 25 minutes, maybe you do get a bunch more games with the
Absolutely,
bullet.
for sure. You will get more games, but Humpy will have to use that by just playing faster, because what is going on here? Do we have a knight e6 check?
I'm
What
not
is
sure, I think, because the
what
bishop
was
on
this?
c3 was hanging. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if there was a checkmate.
So what now? 20 seconds. Okay, let's
Hmm.
focus, because both players have almost no time on the clock. So
Ooh.
f6, trying to cover, keeping that king
Ooh.
covered. Are we gonna see our first draw
Is
here?
there? Oh, there's repetition.
And
There's
Jesse,
repetition. Let's
we
go.
have our first draw of the match. We
Oh
see
my
Bibi
goodness.
Sarah taking a sip of water there.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lucky escape by Humpy. I mean, she,
Hmm.
of course, there's barely such a thing as luck. She fought very well. I think even in the final position, Bibi Sarah could probably play, but with the king being so stuck, I think I understand both players for repeating the position. Here also for Bibi Sarah, she is leading by 2 points, so there's no need to take any excessive risk. And our first draw, and
Wow.
they're off again, and 15 minutes, just under 15 minutes to go.
I didn't expect that draw to happen either. Honestly, we were almost convinced that Baby Sarah had that 3-point lead in the bag, and I'm sure she wasn't very happy with the result. But you move on, you gotta shake it off, and you gotta just accept it, I guess. And I'm sure you kind of channel your energy, your rage into better chess. For me, it helps to get angry sometimes because it fuels your chess.
I can relate to that, but looking at the two players on camera here, if there is any rage going on, they are hiding it very, very well.
Yeah, you rage on the inside like a winner, Fiona.
I need to get some lessons. Maybe that's my mistake. If I rage on the outside.
Oh no.
That's where it all goes
Yeah.
wrong.
You see that maybe that was the problem all along. Yeah.
Probably. Jesse, what
Knight
do you
on
think?
h1.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, what do you think of that knight on h1? It's not
Hmm.
every day we see a knight
It
in the
doesn't rhyme with you'll never be mated. So then I guess it's not true.
corner.
Knight on
I
h1,
thought there
there's
was
no
a
mate.
saying about the knight in the corner, but now I can't think of it. Something about forlorner, or maybe I came up with that. I don't remember. Either I heard it or I came up with it.
Something with?
This weird word, forlorner. How do you forlorn? I don't know. Forlorn means pitifully sad and abandoned or lonely.
Oh no. That sounds like the pawn on a3.
It does sound like the pawn on a3. Yeah, the knight didn't stay in the corner for too long. It immediately jumped out to f2. And I'm not sure
Yeah.
what's happening with these tensions along the e file. Because yes, black is the one that's putting the pressure onto the pawn on e3, but I was just going to say white could try and break with e4 at some point, and then the dynamics change, and I am not sure what is going on. This is another very messy position.
Very true. And we've seen baby Sarah make use of this f3 e4 idea just for the central control. I mean, it's very important to control the center and gain that sort of space, because often when you're controlling the center, you're controlling the game, and you can decide which side you want to attack, which side of the board, and so on. So it's much, it leaves you with a lot of flexibility on the chessboard. Where does the queen go?
Where does the queen go? I guess the queen, yeah, c2 seemed like the normal square, defending the pawn on e4. We saw the knight jump back to the rim, by the way, a move ago, the white knight going to h3. I wonder where that knight is planning. I guess it was planning to jump into g5, but now that the queen has moved to c2, that is not an option anymore, because g5 isn't covered by our queen any longer. I wonder if white will try to play bishop c1 once again, that fianchetto bishop on b2, which is doing nothing right now. So I wouldn't be surprised if Bibi Sarah brought that bishop back.
I'm wondering too, because if black doesn't take the bishop on c1, bishop's going to g5, and that pawn on h4 might just fall.
Exactly.
So it's important. Oh, and there's some lockdown in the center.
I think it makes a lot of sense for white to close the center. I think she will play bishop c1, and black will probably have to take it because of what you said. Bishop g5 is a big threat here, and I don't see any. Can black play f4? Rook g6.
I don't know.
My guess is she will take it. That bishop. I'm a little bit scared as black of that bishop. Also, I'm a bit scared again with down a minute on the clock. But she goes
f4. F4, it's your move. Yes.
F4, just closing that bishop's diagonal. I also feel that Koneru is now already in a spot where she has to take a bit more risk. Of course, there's still the full bullet portion ahead. In this, by the way, we're just getting down to the 10-minute mark. So after this, we could only have, probably we'll have 2 more games after this, but we're fast approaching the bullet time portion.
Very true. And we're seeing in chat, I really like, sorry, I have to mention this comment. A good player knows the rules. A great player knows when to break them.
It's very true. Very, very true. Squeeze is he's a wise man. He's a very wise man. And we see white pushing that a pawn, black saying
I like this move. Yeah, I was looking at it because bishop a3 is a sneaky threat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also a kind of threat that is easy to miss, because you're not really sometimes looking at that side of the board. And that's why Humpy said, okay, let me take that bishop now before that bishop can do any damage.
That's a good move.
Yeah, I think Bibi Sarah, once again, firmly in control here. We see her doubling the rooks on the B file, and Humpy under quite a bit of pressure. One thing that is in Humpy's favor, the knight on h3 on the rim is currently not doing much, but it shouldn't take too long to bring that knight back into the game. Now, the big question is, how do we make progress as white?
Yeah, probably trading rooks here and try to get the knight back in the game. It doesn't want to trade rooks.
There's tactics. There is tactics.
Ooh.
Where are the tactics? Where are they?
Queen h7. I don't know. Is there still something? I feel like there's still something.
On the previous move. Rook b5 was Rook b5 was working.
Did you check?
Yeah, so instead of on move 33, white could have captured. Let's show it's a beautiful tactic. Rook takes pawn.
You mean on this?
Queen 3 instead of
Queen a5?
So after they swapped, instead of Queen a5, Rook p5 was a move.
Rook b5?
Yeah.
No.
And after Rook b5, Queen a8 check.
No way! This is awesome.
And Knight g5.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, that's just, if she spotted that, I'd be screaming.
And the same, of course, if the king had gone to f7, there was the same fork. That didn't happen. I mean, it makes a lot of sense that would be missed with no time. And okay, actually, now we're down to absolutely no time again. The black king is making its way back, but the pawns are falling and Humpy in huge trouble here.
Worse for wear.
Um,
Oh,
and the
having
queen
to give
drops,
the
and
queen.
that is going to be that she takes the knight, and that check, and the queen is gonna just
Queen
go back to
d5.
b5, I think. And Humpy
Uh-oh.
resigns.
And there we
Wow,
see
what a
that 3
game.
point lead. That was quite a game indeed. Wow.
That was really, really impressive.
I
If
love
by
that
the way,
tactic. They can make it a puzzle rush tactic.
absolutely, that was a stunning move. That was a miss, but I mean, it was not easy. I mean, I had seen Rook b5, and I was like, I mean, I saw that the engine said Rook b5, and I was like, what? Why? Kind of move, even
Yeah.
when it's set to you, it still takes another second to figure out. But yeah, Jesse, I was saying probably 2 more games, but it could very well be with the 1 second increment. This could be our last game of this 3+1 portion already, because almost all the games have gone down to the wire.
Oh, we're
And
seeing a very similar position here.
yeah, I
Isn't this
really
pretty much identical?
to the game 2 games ago.
Yeah,
Mm.
because we were talking about the knights moving and
Yeah,
there was some
absolutely.
stuff going on. So it must be deep in theory, King's Indian defense. It says the orthodox variation. And we see
Indeed.
another queen g3. This is a new move. Bishop d3 is new. Probably just want to get the bishop out because we saw, was this bishop having difficulty? It had difficulty moving.
Yeah, I think so. I also saw a comment in the chat, someone saying that Humpy needs to win this one, probably her last chance. I mean, I tend to agree. 3 points is a lot. If she were to even lose this game, yes, a 4-point deficit can be made up in the bullet time control. But I have to say, I'm a little worried. Bibi Sara, she's just played faster. I think she will be more accustomed. I'm guessing here, but I think it's a decent guess. She will be more accustomed to playing bullet. And I think out of all the time controls, bullet is the one where practice and being an experienced bullet player makes the biggest where it makes the biggest difference, I feel.
Very true. I like this knight e4 move because, of course, if white plays b3, I mean, the diagonal is very weak. So now going after c5 in exchange for c4, but bishop d4, I did not expect.
Yeah, bishop d4 offering the exchange of bishops, which I'm also surprised by. I would be a little bit concerned here as black about my king situation. Once again, Jesse, Harry the H pawn. I want to see Harry run off that
Harry
board.
the H pawn.
I do think it makes a lot of sense here to play h4 and just sort of ask black some questions.
Yeah, I pride myself in my Simon Williams impression, actually. Yes, indeed.
It was very good.
Thank you very much. So is knight f6 possible? Because after king f7, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think we might be, maybe we even, but yeah, maybe it's just losing knight f6 because king f7, maybe we have no good jumps, and well, not losing because we can always jump back to g4 and defend our queen. It looks tempting, but maybe it doesn't do much. I really like both these last moves. Queen e5 was a very nice move, attacking the pawn on d4, threatening knight f6, but also queen g7, defending against both these threats, defending the pawn.
I came from here.
And defending the f6.
Humpy is down a minute and does need to make a decision fast. But it's a very critical moment, of course. To give the queen what's not.
Exactly. I think, yeah, what you're sorry, I interrupted, but to decide whether or not you want to exchange the queens, those are always crucial decision. And she did go for the queen exchange, which I think Bibi Sara will be happy about. Descending, we see that maybe white is a tiny bit better, but I don't think this is so easy. I'm white. I don't know about you, Jesse. I'm always a little bit scared of these passed pawns, the pawn on d4.
Indeed. I would personally like to see another draw at some point. because half a point for me is sort of like seeing an incorrectly cut cake. It just
Yeah,
doesn't gel.
or an odd number.
Yes, an odd number. Oh, no. I'm wondering if knight d6 is possible. Knight d6, knight c5. But then you
Yeah.
take on e8 with check. So knight d6 is nice.
F4, wow. So once again, Jesse, I know you talked about this a bit, but you're absolutely right. Attacking the base of the pawn structure, white is trying to get rid of the e-pawn and then create a weakness on d4, and Humpy will be
Ready
hoping.
the f-pawn.
Absolutely. But the clock situation, I mean, once again, I looked away for a second. It's also, we'll keep an eye on the tournament clock, because there is a minute and a half to go. Let's remind everyone, if there is even just 1 second left on the tournament clock, a new game will start. However, if the clock is out, there will be no more games. So 1 minute 20 to go. And I think very likely, unless we see some kind of repetition, this will be the last game. I really like white here, I have to say. I see this e6 potential fork. I see my knight jumping in, but
yes.
I don't know how easy it is. Maybe I'm not very objective.
No, it's possible. We see it. See a check, give a check.
Exactly.
We will go for this.
The cheap
Oh,
trick.
rook e3. Yeah.
So rook e3. Black is still trying to use that, that d-pawn. But now I think white is solid now. She's probably going to try and bring the king out, but black is going to do the same. And actually, the problem is, while the d-pawn is blocked, as soon as we try and improve our position by moving one of our pieces, then we remove a defender of an attacker of that pawn, and it's actually not so easy for either side how to play here.
I mean, this is a very good topic of conversation. I mean, why is the event, with a set time for each time control, and instead of having a number of games? And I think once you reach maybe 20 out of 30 games and it's impossible for one player to catch up, would you just stop the match there? Or would you just continue for fun? So it's nice to give the players that opportunity to catch up, especially in the bullet portion. So it's not the number of games, but the speed at which you're playing. Maybe you can catch up 10 games in 25 minutes. Who knows?
Absolutely. I think it's one of the most exciting formats out there. I'm surprised that nobody has really copied it yet. The Speed Chess Championship, the Opens, have been around for a while. What is going on here? Are we Humpy is completely winning now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Because it looked like a draw, but suddenly the d-pawn is going to fall. The time is up, by the way. This is going to be the last game in this 3+1 portion, and super important for Humpy that she goes ahead and wins this game. I'm fairly certain she will. Black will try and take the h-pawn, maybe, if she can, and create some counterplay, but Humpy says, no, I'm not even going to give you that h-pawn. Keeping my rook on d4, defending the pawn. And she's just going to use that b pawn passer. Now I think the pawns are advanced enough that she says, okay, you can take my h-pawn, but I'm just
apparently
at
some stage it was a draw. I'm not even sure, but that eval bar just went wild. Oh.
And now it is over, and Bibi Sara does resign. And that was a hugely important win for Humpy, also in terms of confidence. I think to end the portion on a win, it's almost like a tournament. When you end the tournament on a win, even if you had a bad tournament, you win the last game, you leave the tournament in good spirits.
Yeah, I mean, after 13 games, I think an even more impressive feat is to keep your rating above 2,700. Honestly, I don't know how Bibi Sara is doing that. That's incredible.
Yeah, very, very impressive. Koneru, I think, definitely underrated when you compare her online to her over the board rating. But that's it for the blitz part of this match. We still have 25 minutes of 1+1 to look forward to. But Bibi Sara Assaubayeva, she has a 7.5, 5.5 lead over Koneru Humpy. And Jesse, we will be back in just a couple of minutes with the final portion of this match, 25 minutes of 1+1 bullet.
Yeah, see you soon.
Hello and welcome back to this final portion, the bullet time control in this very exciting match between Humpy Koneru and the young Bibisara Assaubayeva, who currently has a 2-point lead over her much more experienced opponent. Jessie, what do you think? Can Humpy mount a comeback here? She's trailing by 2 points, but of course 25 minutes remain of 1+1 bullet chess, so anything could still happen.
Yeah, I think 25 minutes is not a lot of time, but also bullet is so unpredictable. Anything can happen. I mean, you could have a really strong player against someone who's less experienced and weaker, and you'd still see some surprises. So anything is possible. I think 2 points, a 2-point margin is not a lot, especially when it comes to such a time control.
Absolutely. We do think, we talked about it, Humpy, she's been struggling a bit, I think, with her time management. She was trailing on the clock in almost every game. What would you advise her for this bullet portion?
Remove.
Just
No, I'm kidding. What do you think?
everything.
Well, what would you say here?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one because it's not so easy with bullet. I mean, I feel it even at my much lower level, and I'm curious to see, actually, we haven't seen the players' bullet ratings yet. I was surprised that Bibisara had almost 100-point lead in the blitz ratings. I think in bullet, just judging by my feeling, Bibisara, she's so young. Let's remind everyone, she's only 17 years old, the youngest of the last 16 participants in this Women's Speed Chess Championship. My feeling is maybe she'll have an even bigger lead in bullet. I don't know. I don't remember seeing Humpy see her play much bullet. I think in general, us streamers, we play quite a lot of bullet, but other than that, I don't know how much bullet people play. And I just think, just because Bibisara is younger, that she probably should have the edge. And there we get the answer. Okay, no, the ratings, but Humpy's rating is the same. Maybe does she even have a bullet rating? Let me quickly see.
I'm not sure. Yeah, do some research in the background, but I think you're definitely right there.
She has only 27 games in bullet, which is not much. Let's remind everyone, she might have another profile, but Bibisara has played 500 games, so that's a huge, if those numbers are true, that's an absolutely huge difference. But let's see. Humpy with the black pieces in this first game. We once again have a Petrov. Humpy has decided to castle queenside, and let's see, does Bibisara change the approach in bullet? And she does this time. The previous time we saw Bibisara castle queenside, now she goes kingside, and we're gonna get something much sharper here.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a fight, like you said. It's now who can attack the fastest, and I suppose whose pawns are the fastest as well. And I'm curious to see who will prevail in this.
I also can't
game.
believe I forgot to give a shout out when Humpy pushed Harry up the board. Finally, go Harry, go. So
Harry the H pawn. Is this one of your promises as a Simon Williams co-commentator to always mention Harry the J pawn, Freddie the F pawn?
We'll always support Harry. Unfortunately, Harry often has to sacrifice himself quite early. He sacrificed himself too, but it was an exchange. I like Black's position.
We're heading into time trouble already. 10 seconds for Humpy Koneru.
Why is she not? What? Oh my!
I'm not sure. I have no idea. Maybe there really is a serious. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was wondering why she wasn't taking on H2, but I didn't see the knight was hanging, and I panicked because of the time. But what a crazy position! Pieces are hanging everywhere, but Black is just gonna win a piece. No, the bishop, the knight on D4.
But now there's a bishop on E6, I suppose.
Yeah,
it just has to move faster, I guess.
But I think, and now this is just gonna be okay. She takes on E6 with check, but still the problem is the rook on A8 was stuck. That rook on A8 was lost.
Oh my goodness, that was just beyond me.
Yeah, I mean,
there was the rook on A1.
The rook on A1 could not be defended, could not. And so Bibisara resigned, and for Humpy, this is the perfect start. She won the final 3+1 game. She won the first 1+1 game, and now she's only one win away from equalizing this match again. And what a crazy game that was.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot happen already. I mean, I think it's moving so fast that we'll have to catch up.
Yeah,
I'm still mentally on the first game.
I think in the bullet we're not gonna analyze too much because the moves are coming in so fast. I think here Humpy has just, you know, continued what she's done so far, played some sort of English reiki system, fianchettoing the bishop to G2, and just saying, okay, let's just play a game. And Bibi Sara is also just keeps doing what she is doing. She's playing sensible moves. She's playing them fast. And I like this. I always like it when they go f5, just taking some space on the king side, following it up with g5. So
I mean, it's a well-known, not trick, but idea to fianchetto your bishops, especially in faster time formats, just because of their range. And it's often easy to miss, you know, tactics. That's why of this early rook b1, it made quite a lot of sense to just get the rook out of the way and not have to worry about it later on.
Absolutely. And actually, I was just spending 1 second. So the winner of this match is actually not going to get any easier. They're going to play against the winner of Hu Yifan against Mamadova, I think. So, well, first of all, Hu Yifan will have to make it through, but potentially we could even see a Humpy Koneru against Hu Yifan match in the quarterfinals, which would be very, very exciting, of course. But Humpy, she's still trailing by a point. So I'm getting ahead of myself.
They're long-time opponents. No, they played a lot in the Grand Prix, and I'm not sure if they've faced off in the Women's World Championship. Has Hou Yifan ever played a Women's World Championship? Was she always focused on sort of open chess?
No, Hu Yifan has. I think Koneru might never have played a match. Of course, she's played the knockouts, so it's difficult because the format has changed so much. So it used to be every other year it's a knockout and every other year a match. So of course, I'm sure she played the knockouts, but I don't think she ever played a match. But she has qualified to play in the next Women's Candidates Tournament, which will be the first of its kind. And let's focus on the game because Bibi Sara, we'll ask Humpy about that in the interview, but Bibi Sara is up a piece. And
but it's also cool to note, you mentioned the Women's World Cup as a knockout and championship. I think this is the first time or the first year ever that there will be a FIDE Women's World Cup.
Yeah, that's very true, actually. That's very true. It's starting very soon as well. And just, I think, as you know very well, in just a few weeks. And by the way, we completely missed the end of the game.
Yeah, there was the win. Nice,
Bibi Sara won the game and takes back a 2-point lead. How much? Just under 19 minutes left on the clock. Of course, in bullet, you can very quickly win a few games, but Bibi Sara is never, you know, sometimes Koneru can almost catch up, but still, I mean, Humpy has not been in the lead once in this match, and Bibi Sara has done such a great job at just controlling the score and, you know, always bouncing back after defeats. And just, I see such maturity in her, not just in her play, but also in the way she's handled this match, the way she's carried herself. And I'm becoming a fan, Jessie.
Oh no, that was a quick one. Bibi Sara won so quickly. So what happened in the previous game is that she played knight a4, assuming that she was attacking c3, and queen takes a4, simply dropping a piece. Very, very difficult to see in such a, I mean, in bullet, but.
I mean, I think it was just, I think this one, I think you're being too kind. I think this was just a complete blind spot, actually, just a complete blind spot. And she does the only right thing to do, resign immediately, because the problem is we're not playing a round of games, we're playing on the clock. So she doesn't want to waste any time playing a position, a piece down. But that was, I think, the most shocking blunder, the most shocking blunder of the day so far.
Yeah, maybe we're working with a tactic here, because often, I mean, when I was involved with athletics, I was much, much younger. I don't even think I can run 50 meters today. But I was doing athletics when I was younger, and often what would happen in the longer distances is you'll find someone trailing just behind you, and in that final lap, they'll put in all their efforts and just overtake you, and you won't even see it because maybe you're putting all your effort in that entire time and you tire yourself out. So it's very possible that in those final moments, I mean, it could be that Hampi could just overtake. Yeah.
The problem is, I agree with you. It is absolutely possible, but I think in many cases it also, even the analogy, you know, with the you gave with the athletics, very often it also means that the one who's leading the race would have to tire down a little bit. And one of the things I found so impressive today is Bibi Sarah has never showed any sign of slowing down. I think if anything, she has almost picked up the pace. We see her there both still looking, but she's really looking sharp. She is looking like, you know, Bullet. I think she's just much more accustomed. And I really think at this point she's a huge favorite. Let's remind everyone, she has a 3-point lead. There's 16 minutes still on the clock. Careful about the rook that is attacked on a1. Hampi, of course, doesn't miss that, but the bishop comes into d4, and once again, white is under so much pressure. Maybe the rook can come into f2, or she's playing bishop there, threatening mate, bishop g3. All the tactics are working. The pawn couldn't recapture because of the pin.
Now there's that final rook f2,
and she's just finding everything. The bishop comes back, and it's gonna be mate on the next move, and
it's all over.
White both timed out and was getting mated, and now it's a 4-point lead, and I'm afraid that this Bullet, I think Bibi Sarah is just, you know, asserting some kind of dominance here in this Bullet portion, which is, I mean, maybe the Twitch gods didn't let me predict, because save me my point.
I predicted I threw in 5,000 channel points in there, so we'll see who I predicted towards at the end.
We will see, but I think the thing with Bibi Sarah, I think a lot of players might not know her very well because she's so young. I'll say it one more time. She's only 17 years old. There has been a pandemic now going on for almost a year and a half, which means before the pandemic, you know, she would only have been 15, 16, and bishop a6. Okay, Hampi.
Again, this has happened more than once.
Yeah. So Hampi really, she needs to win, get a streak of a few games in a row now if she wants to stand any chance here of coming back on the scoreboard.
This is quite a nice move, queen e2, because of course it was natural to want to play e5, but knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and queen takes e5, and if the pawn were to take back, rook takes queen. So it's just exchanges in the center and loses the queen. So queen e2 first, followed by e5, and then going for this diagonal here with the queen, because of course black doesn't have a light squared bishop, so it's very difficult to
exactly defend. A very good point. And I think in the game, well, the same thing happened. e5 was played. White is trying to use this diagonal, and we see she doesn't want to trade queens. I'm sure Hampi would love to keep the trade queen. Can we hold on to we're not going to see a repetition here, that's
I don't think so. I mean, Bibi Sarah would be very happy with repetition.
Yeah, she would be very happy. But of course, Hampi, I mean, she's up in exchange. She's trailing by 4 points. Of course, she cannot afford. I think we're getting actually very close to the moment where she can't afford to drop any more points.
There's 13 minutes left as well. So maybe that's just enough time for about, 5 games?
Yeah, if she wins this one, and I think she can still do it, but I think we're getting very close to must-win territory for all the games. Very Even true. This position, I mean, it is winning, of course, for black. We're still up our exchange, but white is always going to create some threats. Now we see the queen going to c2. The queen is looking to come into h7, and that's the thing as well with this format, is that you have to win fast. Like, also Bibi Sarah should not resign probably any losing position. She should try to get as much time of that remaining clock as she can. And I mean, this game 2 seconds for Koneru, and the position is out, and she just timed out.
Yeah,
she just,
That's very, very unfortunate.
I think she just couldn't find a move, but that, I mean, that was shocking. And there we saw she didn't give away much, but there was a slight look of frustration on her face there, I would say. And now with a 5-point lead for Bibi Sara and 12 minutes on the tournament clock, this is nearly game over. And I mean, I'm just so impressed, Jessie. I don't know what to say anymore, because Bibi Sara,
Yeah.
I didn't really know her much going into this match, but wow.
Takes a lot of endurance, I think, and confidence to go into such a battle. And honestly, I think I would be intimidated enough, and the match might as well be over if I knew that I was about to play Humpy Koneru. So I completely commend, I mean, this sort of level of chess and strength as well to continue performing well.
I think you're making a great point. I mean, her confidence throughout the match, there was never any point, you know, even if she lost the game, she'd always bounce back. Here, once again, she's in, and even the previous game when she was in a lot of trouble, she would always, you know, put up maximum resistance, never go down without a fight. In this game, well, she's going to have to put up a tough fight again, because Koneru has picked up a pawn on e6. She's up a pawn. She's in the driver's seat.
I
and
like
she's
that
up on the
comment
clock.
you make. I really like that, in the driver's seats. I really like that. Yeah,
it's my go-to.
it's awesome. Oh, up another pawn?
I thought so too, but yeah, no, you're right. There was some exchanges.
Okay.
So yeah, it is 2 pawns up now for white. The black king is also looking not too happy in the corner there. But let's see, can Bibi Sara create something? Squeeze water out of a stone. That's not exactly, I think, the right expression.
I like that as well. Honestly, I'm just picking up what would you use these in the future. Yeah. Squeeze water.
I mean, those 2 pawns, the white E and D pawns, they are just going to march. But once again, the problem is it takes time from the tournament clock. It's not so easy to win quickly, which is what you want when you're trailing by 5 points in this case.
And you think that's a strategy to kind of stall that time?
Oh, for sure. I've seen enough games.
You've seen this?
Yeah. I mean, even the top GMs in the world, they will play till mate. They will let their time run out. It's all part of I think that's what makes the beauty of this format. There's more to it than just the games. There is the time factor and how you're going to use it to your
Is it reason to question their sportsmanship or no?
No. I think it's just part of the format. I think the players understand that this is a different format, and I think you're absolutely in your right to use it to your maximum advantage. Humpy is getting there now, but this has taken a lot more time off the tournament clock. Only just under 9 minutes remain. And I mean, but is this even still?
I'm sure it's still winning, but how to win, it's difficult, I guess. Because it's opposite color bishops even.
Is there bishop h4? Oh my goodness. It's still winning, but
G6.
this is all taking so much. And now it's...
Okay, maybe there's a mate.
And now I'm not even sure if this is still winning anymore. I would guess it is still winning, but this is... I mean, the thing is here is black as well. Black is going to be able to get so much more time off the tournament clock. I think white is going to get zugzwang. Black is going to get zugzwang. Or is she?
I don't know. It might be...
I mean, this is the longest.
Oh, there we go.
Exactly what Humpy did not want. The longest bullet game in history.
The longest in history.
Almost.
Probably. God, we're good at 71 moves in bullets. Yeah.
And I think she should probably play till mate, and she does. I think. Okay, she resigns now, but she got so much time. I think it was even fair enough to play on. I think maybe she doesn't have much experience in that format, or sometimes, just resign out of reflex because that's what you do. But I think in this format, it is absolutely fine to play until mate. And if you still have 3 seconds on the clock, let them run out, because that's just
To
in
time out? I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow, I would be so angry with my opponent.
But you should see some of those speeches highlights. I mean, all of the best players in the world, they've all done this in this format, and
So you might
that's
as
just.
well just sit there and not make a move at all. Just sit back and be like,
I
okay,
mean,
well.
I've seen some players even, get up and go and grab something they had. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's part of this format. It is part of.
Really, it's okay. Yeah, I have a lot to learn, I think.
Actually, the one of the latest memories I have is watching Artemiev. It was such a crazy match. Someone surely can remind me in the chat. Artemiev was leading the match. It was the bullet portion. It was down to the final moments. And if he had let his clock run out, if he had just done these things that I was just saying, he would just have moved on to the finals, I think. It was I think it was the semifinals. But because Artemiev is so nice, too nice, he just resigned, and his
Oh,
opponent came back, and in the end he lost the match. So he lost the match because he was too
oh,
nice, basically.
because it was too nice.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a very similar moral situation at the African Championship as well. My opponent accidentally miscalculated and touched the wrong piece first, and then sat there for 20 minutes and continued to ask me, do I really have to move this piece? And at the end, I felt so bad. I was going to say, you know what, you can move anything. But that was such a critical moment that if they had moved anything, I could have lost. And I just made the
You said,
selfish
no,
decision.
you move that piece now.
Yeah, it was the difference between championship, winning the championship. So
Yeah.
I couldn't.
But I think absolutely in some situations, I mean, yes, it hurts. But I
Yeah.
mean, this is the format. The players know the rules going into the match, and I think it is absolutely normal to then use it to your advantage. I think someone is telling me it was against Firuza. I think that's very likely, as Artemiev against Firuza, which was insane. You should look up the highlights of that match and you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Bibi Sara once again is getting close to just striking back here. She's now, well, she's not up a piece, but that C pawn, just two squares. Oh, I love
Yeah,
that.
it's a
That's
very nice, very
a
nice
touch
move.
of class. That C pawn is not going
Yeah,
to be stopped. And
not
I
at all.
think that will be the match. There's under 5 minutes to go, and Bibi Sara takes a 12.5, 7.5 lead, so a 5-point lead again. And there just isn't enough time, so I think we can more or less call it. Let's not call it before it's over,
Yes.
but
But it's, yeah, 20 games, it's a lot of games. Is that 20 games? It is 20 games.
it is
Yes.
20 games,
See,
yes.
this is why I don't like draws, you know. The math becomes so
We
hard.
still have to get that one draw to get rid of this
Yes. Oh my goodness. Someone's
point.
gonna cut a cake wrong. It's just not right. We'll
So
see what happens in the final two. I think
yeah,
maybe 2 games. Yeah.
yeah, two, yeah, probably just 2 games. You're right. So here, Koneru, once again, we've had this structure, I feel, many times. I think in general, Humpy has been back getting nice positions out of this. I really think that her biggest problem today was the time management. Like, don't get me wrong, I think Bibi Sara played brilliant chess. I'm not saying that Humpy played better, but I think it was just such a big problem that she was trailing on the clock in almost every game, and it's just so tough to fight with no with no time on the clock, versus very often it was 1-2 minutes for Bibi Sara.
And it's not even the time you have to worry about. It's that I have to pre-move this, but if it doesn't work, then I'm losing time anyway, and all the rest.
Yeah.
Online.
Sure. And I have to say, I'm very much looking forward to hearing from the players. I know, by the way, this is your reminder for everyone watching us. The Crypto Champs will take place right after this. It's supposed to start at 7 o'clock Central European Summertime, I think 10 a.m. Pacific. So that's in 7 minutes. So I hope we'll still have time to quickly talk to the players. Would be nice to get their thoughts. And we'll see what they made of it. I'm also curious to hear, what did Humpy think went wrong today? There's a lot of questions I want to ask, and we won't have that
Yeah,
much time, but
I think it'll be my first time hearing both players talk as well.
yeah, I hope they will both join us. I think they are both
Mm.
supposed to. Hopefully, both will join us.
Ooh, Queen f2 is rough.
Yeah, so Queen f3 trying to control, keep things under control. Taking on c7, the black queen is coming in. It's always so uncomfortable playing these kind of positions with white when the black pieces are coming closer
Yeah,
to your
nice
king.
covering. 5
But
seconds. Happy
she's
needs to move.
keeping things under control for now. Hitting
This
the
is a
knight
good
on
move. I
c4.
like it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. So both defending and attacking. And what's it gonna be? F3. So I thought now white would take you with check. And maybe are we gonna get our
There's no more
draw,
checks.
Jessie?
Maybe. I
Is
don't know
there
if there is a
perpetual
draw here.
somewhere? No.
It's
The
black who is
bar was on
winning.
0, so I think there was probably a perpetual, but probably very hard to see.
Oh.
And now a nice tactic by Bibitsara is going to take
no.
one more win.
Okay, that's a 6-point lead.
Yeah. I mean, it's been really this bullet portion. I think Humpy won the first, and then did Bibisara win every bullet game after Bibisara won. Oh, actually, probably we can see the bullet scores somewhere. No, but she won the bullet portion by a lot, basically, and I think she's going to be absolutely deserved winner here today. This is probably the last game. The tournament clock is ticking down. Only 35 seconds to go. And once again, Bibisara, we see those bishops looking down at the black king. You know, I really loved her style. Bibisara has played some very enterprising, very attacking chess, never backed down from a fight. And I see a very promising young player in Bibisara.
Indeed. I've seen I don't think I've seen such exciting chess, but of course it's all speed chess, and I mean it always gets really exciting when all the faster the time control. So I'm really liking it.
Absolutely, for sure. And the tournament clock, by the way, has run out. So this will be the last game we see here. Jessie, our last chance to get an even score if it's
Yes,
in
I hope so.
I think we're not gonna. We only saw one draw. You said they played 21 games. Only one game ended in a draw. And here, I mean, for now, I see the bar is telling us this is in the balance. It's exactly at the middle of the board.
Yes.
But what a mess it is.
Don't move.
Just off the draw. It's over. The match is over anyway.
Oh,
Queen h7 was missed.
Oh my goodness. Something gonna happen? What's happening?
Well,
I'm looking.
Black is getting mated is what's happening.
Oof.
I think. Although that e-pawn, I don't know if we had to drop that. I don't know if knight f5 was the best, but I think white is still winning here. She's just going to take the knight on e5, and it's 2 extra pawns for white. No, it's not 2. It's an extra piece for white. I can't even count anymore. But especially that black king is just in a world of pain, and this is going to be the end. King e7. We take on c8 with check, and rook c1, attacking the bishop, threatening to come into c7, and I think the end is near here.
The end is near.
So Bibisara, I mean, also still has 20 seconds on the clock. So just keeping things together, rook f2, playing a few solid moves before I'm sure she's going to deliver the final blow soon. Knight f5. Once
time
again,
management is very, very tough with 1 minute. It's barely, for me, it's barely chess. I'm not thinking at all.
It is tough. I mean, and now the pieces come off as well. And once I liked what Bibisara is doing. I'm sure there were a few knockout blows, but she just, you know, she said, I'm going to keep everything together. I'm going to slow roll my advantage. I'm up a full rook. I'm going to swap queens. I'm going to take your b pawn, and
There it
Humpy
is.
does resign, and Bibi Sara Assaubayeva is through to the quarterfinals, beating Humpy's Koneru on a huge score of 14.5 against 7.5. So congratulations to Bibi Sara Assaubayeva from Kazakhstan on a dominating performance. Jesse, your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I mean, that's 22 games of grueling chess, and I have to commend both players for keeping it up the entire time. Honestly, I would have run out of energy probably after round 7. So taking a look at these games, I've learned a lot. I found that watching high-level chess is definitely the best way to learn as well, because maybe you're identifying or learning about the openings they're playing, maybe spotting tactics. So it's really quite a journey with these players that you get to come on, and it's such a pleasure as well being able to commentate alongside someone who's so experienced and strong as well.
Thank you, Jesse.
In the
It
field
was
of
a lot
commentary.
of fun for me as
Yeah.
well. I always enjoy working with someone new, and especially, we have done some sub battles or some streams together, but we never commentated together. So really, it was a lot of fun. I think we saw some brilliant games, some really fighting chess. I think I'm just gonna wait. Maybe remind our viewers. Also, of course, a big thank you, first of all, to our producer, but also to everyone who was watching us. We, of course, could never do this without all of you tuning in to watch us. And yeah, just one more time, congratulations to Bibi Sara. I'm just waiting to find out.
I believe the interview is going to take place.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's very exciting. So don't go anywhere. We're going to go to a short break, and we'll be back with the players in just a moment. Bibi Sarah and Humpy, thank you so much for joining us, both of you. Bibi Sarah, first of all, congratulations. I mean, it was such an exciting match, but you played so well today. So
Thank
maybe
you.
tell us, how do you feel after the match?
I'm very happy.
I can imagine. I was very impressed. I think you played great chess, but you also played very fast. So I wanted to ask you, did you play much online blitz and bullets during the last year?
I have to training after qualifier to this match.
Okay, so you were playing a lot of games in the last
Yes.
week. And today, what did you think was, you know, the secret, the key to your success in this match? What did you think went well? Yeah.
I think I should play very fast and with no trouble.
And I think that worked. That worked great. So Bibi Sarah, once again, congratulations to you, and we look forward to seeing you in the quarterfinals. Humpy, thank you for joining us as well. I'm sure today is, of course, not the result that you were hoping for, but what are your thoughts on how the match went?
Yeah, I think I played. I missed many chances, and I was really slow in 5 minute games, so that affected my result. And I collapsed towards the bullet games. So overall, it was a bad day for me. Sometimes it happens.
Of course. Let's talk about some happy news briefly. I was really hoping to see you in Gibraltar, of course, for the Grand Prix. In the end, unfortunately, you couldn't make it, but you still qualified to the candidates tournament from the Grand Prix series, even without playing the last event, which was so impressive. So how did it feel for you? You know, how does it feel to be qualified to the candidates tournament?
I'm very happy. In fact, I didn't expect to qualify through Grand Prix, because after skipping the GP, my chances of qualification are very low. But I'm just happy that I made it without any more efforts. And okay, there are a lot of tournaments coming up, so I hope to play the onboard events soon.
Will you be playing in the World Cup that's coming up?
Not in the World Cup, but probably I'll start playing from around September, maybe if everything goes well.
Fantastic. Well, we're certainly hoping to see you both playing some over-the-board chess again very soon. Humpy, best of luck for all the events that are coming up. And Bibi Sarah, once again, congratulations on your win today, and best of luck for the quarterfinals. Thank you so much to both of you for joining us for the interview. Thank you so much. So it was great to hear from the players, and now without further ado, the Crypto Champs are going to start in -6 minutes. So Jessie and I are gonna sign off, but Jessie, once again, big thank you to you. It was so much fun. Big thanks to all the viewers for watching us. Today's been a blast, and tomorrow the Women's Speed Chess Championship continues. For now, do stay tuned to this Twitch channel where the Crypto Champs will kick off. Jessie, final words, over to you.
Final words. Thank you so much for being such an amazing co-host. You made things very easy for me, and you're a pleasant person. So I really hope to work with you again soon, and I'll be seeing Twitch chats tomorrow again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jessie. Guys, we'll see you very soon. Have a good one. Take care. Thanks for watching. Bye.